this pain was just nonstop, 24/7. I couldn't sleep. I think the sleep deprivation was hurting me more than anything else because I just couldn't sleep and I couldn't get any way I turned. I was just uncomfortable, even though it was only on my right side. Just laying on my left side would put pressure on my side, and I just couldn't sleep. And I think Dan Charlie on the Fermented Reality Beercast, he also had shingles, and he explained it really well. I said, imagine having a very bad sunburn, like extreme second-degree burn sunburn, where even the wind blows on you and it's very sensitive and hurts. And then take some needles and stab you, and then some knife cuts along that sunburn. And that's how it felt to me, 24/7, like nonstop all the time. It was doing something like that. He said, take that sunburn and then tase it, and just don't stop tasing. And I'm like, that's also a very good, good summary of the pain. So go out there and get that shingle shot. You don't want to get this. And it's literally a 2-week ailment, right? This is the first day over the weekend, I started feeling better where the constant pain wasn't there. It was just like, it was there, but it wasn't like super painful. And then today I decided to go back to work. I mean, I worked all the way through it from home, but today I went on site to my work, and I'm doing okay. I feel pretty good. But yeah.
Based on that lovely description, I might see about getting that tomorrow.
Yeah. You should definitely get it. Now, keep in mind,
can I get that shingle shot tomorrow?
keep in mind that there is some rules. If you are going to be getting the COVID vaccination, then you probably want to hold off, because there's some stipulations. You can't have another vaccine within like a few weeks of 20 days or a month before or after you get the COVID shot. So if that is something that you are going to do, just keep that in mind. You might want to wait until after that shot and then get it, but do get it. Don't wait. Just go get it, because you'll thank me later. Or you'll tell me that I was right later. Either way, it's worth it. But
here, one thing I wanted to remind you guys of before we move forward, make sure you hop on the live feed right here and share it. So that way.
Yeah, I know. I was meaning to do that, and I kept forgetting because I got carried away with the intro. But
I know. It's understandable. We're talking about great beer, just fantastic shingles, all kinds of stuff.
Gosh, I want to share it, but it's right, post.
Please stand by.
Okay, there we go. Now everyone just saw that. Now, I will tell you what really helps with easing the pain of the nerve endings, because basically all these nerve endings are what's firing and constantly, giving you the issue. I know it sounds corny, but the thing that really works is alcohol, beer, and tequila. I mean, tequila works really well. My friend Corey said, hey, the cure, the pain relief is to take 1 shot of tequila every hour. Well, you know what? If I did that, I couldn't handle it. But I did take a few shots of tequila, and I'll tell you what, man, I felt great. Now, the problem is that once you come down from that, you feel good. You start doing more things that irritates the body. And when you come out of that alcohol, funk, the pain was like 3 times as bad after that. Man. So keep that in mind. Just either keep it going constantly, don't let up, or just don't go crazy with your activities, because it could backfire. Wow, we got super sidetracked on that.
We certainly did.
And I didn't even mention what I'm drinking.
You haven't?
The reason why is because I drank all my big beers last week. That's why I don't have anything good.
I gotcha.
But I did get a case of this Polliner Oktoberfest Marzen. And this is a great, this Marzen will last forever, right? It still tastes just as good as it does, day one. It's really good. So I got 24 of these. I've already drank, 14 of them, I think. But I've got 4 of them tonight. I'll be popping down again to help ease my pain from working today. So that's what I'm drinking. Polliners, a good old German. Again, Chris and I made a beer resolution that we're going to drink more beer-flavored beer or things without adjuncts in it. So you can't get more non-adjunct than a pure old German beer.
Polliners, good stuff.
For sure.
Okay, well, let's get on with the show. Before we get too far in, I always like to let anyone new listening, especially now that we're on Facebook Live, in case you don't know what Tap to Craft podcast is all about. We are an educational podcast. We focus around celebrating all things craft beer because we want to assist our listeners along in your craft beer journeys and adventures. And you're listening to episode 169, recording on Monday, January 11th, 2021. And this episode, we are going to, like Chris already mentioned, we're going to talk about Mike's craft beer journey. I know, Mike, you've listened to like every show, right? So you know that when we have guests on, we always like to find out about their craft beer journey. So I hope you're prepared. And then because Mike is a virtual producer, we give them an opportunity to go and pick a topic and join us to talk about this topic. And Mike had a great topic of talking about beercation destinations. 2020 was a crappy year. We didn't do much traveling, right? Everyone now is hoping by summertime we'll be able to do more traveling, and maybe we'll be able to hit some of these beercation destinations. And why not, bring the three of us together to talk about places that we've been or places that we want to go that are great for enjoying craft beer, or even non-craft beer. Even like you want to go overseas and you're talking about you want to go drink German beers or Belgian beers, right? Those are a good opportunity. So you can count on those two topics, along with some great conversation between the three of us. And let's get this conversation started. We're going to go right in, Mike, to your craft beer journey question. So, Chris, I always start off the question. So why don't you go ahead and start off with the first few questions?
All right. So I'll get, the first 2 or 3 or whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
We'll look at. So, Mike, I hope you're prepared because, this is.
I've listened to the show enough. I did prepare just a little bit.
Good.
All right. Good.
Perfect. So when do you think you first got into craft beer? Can you give us kind of a roundabout time for that?
So I grew up in St. Louis. Go Cardinals. And then grew up on Bud Light through high school and college and everything because that's the thing in St. Louis. Late 90s, started getting into more of the AB specialty stuff like Amberbach and Honey Lager. I won't call those craft beers, but it's moving that direction at least. And then back in like late 02, I moved from St. Louis out to Reno for work, Reno, Nevada. And when I moved there, I started getting exposed to a lot more Sierra Nevada, Pale Ale, of course, and New Belgium's Fat Tire and just local stuff. So I started getting into it probably about 02.
Okay. So would you say your first experience with craft beer was positive, or did it take you a couple tries to, get the hang of things, get on board?
No, it was definitely positive because, I grew up on, lesser products, as I mentioned, and, discovering that beer could actually have flavor to it was a great revelation for me. So,
okay.
A lot of times finding out that flavor, though, especially people that have drank the same type of beer for a long time, can be a little bit hard on them, right? To get that, especially if they drink the wrong beer. If all of a sudden someone hands you an IPA and you're used to drinking, Bud Light, right, and now you got an IPA, that's going to be very, a bad move. And
kind of a taste bud shock.
Yeah, taste bud shock, and it's going to be bitter. And you're going to say, I hate this craft beer stuff. So it really depends on getting the right experience, whether you're with other people that are sharing that with you, having those people understand that, hey, just because they like IPA doesn't mean someone new to craft beer is going to like that IPA, unless that IPA is, a hazy IPA or something that's easier to drink, a sessionable one that's not so super bitter. But maybe they might like IPA, but anyone that's introducing people to craft beer, they really need to be careful not to turn them off to it, because I've had plenty of people that just say, I don't like craft beer. It's too bitter. It's too beer-like. I'd like to drink stuff that's not, so beer-like. Well, craft beer is supposed to be beer-like. That's why we drink it. It's got flavor. Like you said, that flavor is what turns you on and gets you excited to go try other types of beers. So that's why we ask this question, because I like to find out people that have had a negative experience and then find out how they got back into it from, because sometimes it might take them 5 or 6 years before they get back into it. My buddy Vic Joe, he drank some, I think, early on, and it took him until, pretty much when I started joining him on podcasting, and he started trying things and realized, wow, this beer is pretty good. And he worked his way up to drinking IPAs, which is something that he, he really didn't like before. So it's a good story.
Well, it was, I mean, so like I said, in '02, I kind of started getting into like Sierra Nevada Pale Ale and Fat Tire and those kinds of things,
Mhm.
and some of the local stuff. But it was still just kind of, I'll grab a beer when I'm out at the bar with some buddies
Yeah.
or whatever. And then, a few years later, just went through some stuff in my life and actually like found kind of the craft beer culture. So that would
Mhm.
probably be
Yeah.
maybe like 2014, 2015, somewhere in that area. And that's when I
Okay.
really started like deep diving.
Actually, that's a good. So it wasn't until about 2011 to 12 when craft beer movement really started hitting hard. And so it doesn't surprise me that 2014 comes along. Now we've got a lot more breweries around that are giving you that experience. It's not just the beer, it's the experience. And we've talked about that. That's how my first craft beer experience was, joining my fellow, sailors, crewmen at the brewery, playing darts, playing horseshoes, playing volleyball, drinking beer, eating food, having that experience of fun and good beer. And it just kind of like hit home, like, this is what I want to do. Instead of just going and drinking and getting drunk, I want to drink it drunk and have fun,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in that process, Mike, did you have a gateway beer that you would recommend to people? Maybe even just recommend to people, or maybe someone trying to get into craft beer.
I mean, I've talked to you guys before about Sierra Nevada and just
Mhm.
my love for that company and just what they do and how they do it. Pale ale is fairly hoppy if you've grown up drinking Bud Light all your life.
Sure.
But that said, it's still a lot more mild than some of the IPAs out there today. So
Yeah.
I really think a Sierra Nevada's Pale Ale is a great kind of first entry into craft beer myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it can be a challenge for them, but I think you're right. I think it's not as hoppy as the IPAs, and it gives them a full range of what they can expect, right? They can get that malt character in there, they can get the hoppiness, and they can get the full feel. Yeah, no, I agree. Sierra Nevada is a lot of people's what they would recommend for a gateway beer. So you're not alone.
All right, Denny, let's have you get on the last four there.
Okay. I always like to ask now, your craft beer journey really started to amp up 6 years ago. So you have 6 years, and in that time frame, I'm sure that you had some beer styles that you really didn't like, right? You didn't prefer these beer styles, and then maybe now that you've grown in your craft beer journey, some of these styles might have improved on your taste. But do you have either a favorite style besides IPA? I mean, I'm sure
it's not actually one of my
it's not
favorite
okay,
styles.
or a least favorite, or if you have one of each, you can tell me what each one is, and explain why this style is either negative for you or a positive.
So as long as the beer is well made, I am going to like the beer. I
Okay.
say IPAs are not my favorite. I do like IPAs, but if I'm looking at a tap list, it's not like, oh, there's an IPA, I'm going for that one. So I'm not that guy. I really do like pretty much all styles of beer. But if I had to pick just a single one that I would choose, probably either Scotch ales, not to be confused with Scottish ales, but Scotch ales,
Yeah.
or stouts. I do love stouts. So
Okay.
and
No hated beers.
no real hated beers. I mean, some of the I will say, so I do like sour beers. I know, Chris, you're not a big sour beer drinker. At least you've been evolving in that arena for a while now. But I will say that like some sour beers, the original release of Sierra Nevada's Otra Vez, for example,
Oh yeah.
to me, and I actually taste this at Chico at the brewery. So, if I'm tasting somewhere at an event or something, I'll kind of weigh that a little bit. I won't hold that against the brewery necessarily because I don't know how it's been handled when it got there. But if I taste something at the brewery and it's bad, then we've got a problem. But I tried the original Ultra Vez at Chico at the original Sierra Nevada brewery. And to me, and I think it's just a chemical thing for me in my taste buds, but it tasted like bile. I mean, it was disgusting.
Oh yeah.
I could not handle that beer. And then
that would be
the
bad.
next year, they released like a lime version of it, a little bit different recipe. That one was great. Loved it. So every once in a while, I'll find one of those that just does not chemically mix with me. And the first Ultra Vez was one of those.
Okay.
I think I agree with you with the Ultra Vez. I think I had a similar feeling with it. I need to go back and check my login, but I think the first one I had an issue with, and then like you said, the lime one or whatever came after it was like a turnaround beer that was really, really tasty.
And that's not to say that there's anything wrong with the beer. There wasn't anything wrong with that first Ultra Vez. I had lots of friends that tasted it, that loved it, said it was great. It's just for whatever reason, chemically, it did not work for me.
That's like that one from Dogfish Head with the sequence.
Yeah,
that's the one that John says.
No, me too. I tried it honestly based on that recommendation. Just going, all right, really? Does it really? Yep. Yeah.
It wasn't until you guys mentioned it that I could then taste and like, yeah, I guess I could see where that is. But I actually like that one, right? It seemed pretty smooth to me. It wasn't that bad, and I'm not a big Dogfish Head fan either. I mean, I think they do some beers well, but for the most part, I'm just not, into their thing. They try to add all these funky stuff, and sometimes it works. Like that Super 8 Goza, that one's fantastic.
That one was great.
I had a few of those. In fact, Matt Knight sent me a can from New York, but I had a couple here that they finally came to my area, and I love that beer. I mean, it's just unique, right? It had so much flavors going on in there that, and it was just a nice experience. So yeah, some things they do I really enjoy. All the big giant 14%, stouts and stuff, too boozy.
Yeah.
Or 18%. The worldwide stouts, 18%, right? Something like that. It's like,
yeah, it's something ridiculous.
Yeah, but I had that at one of their pubs, and I literally sipped it for 3 hours because I couldn't drink the whole thing very fast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you just got to let it sit for 5 years in a dark, cool place, and then, that's from what I hear.
I really enjoyed that worldwide stout with vanilla that they did a couple years ago. That had, I mean, even though they didn't say it had chocolate, obviously had the roasty notes of a stout, but that was one of the most chocolately beers I'd ever had. I loved that beer.
I think that vanilla definitely helped add to that. Vanilla will, funnily enough, vanilla will add to a chocolately flavor.
Yeah, kind of brings it out.
Yeah, because there's what's called vanillin in chocolate that comes from vanilla. Well, obviously vanilla is a good supplier of vanillin, and it's food science.
Food science. All right, so Mike, what is your go-to beer? What beer that when you see in a store, you just have to grab a 6-pack or 12-pack or a case or a pint that you just can't help yourself? You have a beer that's just like your go-to beer you just love drinking?
That's a tough call. So I've adopted the Untapped way of life, and I'm always wanting to try new beers, so if I've got the option to try something I haven't ever tried before, I'm probably going to go there.
Yep.
But, after so long doing this, you run out of beers. I mean, they're continuing to make new ones all the time, but, certain places just have a limited tap list. So I would say a couple of my go-tos are back again to Sierra Nevada's Pale Ale. If I'm looking at a tap list and I don't see anything that's really appetizing me, I'll grab that. Or having moved here to the Atlanta area, I really like Creature Comforts out of Athens, which is about an hour east of here. I really like their Tropicali, which is just a straight IPA. So it's a really good go-to beer as well.
Okay. So for me, I love drinking new beers. So I always go out and grab things I haven't had, but I also keep staple beers in my fridge. Just when I just want to go grab a beer and not worry about logging it or anything. I've already logged it before, and I just want to drink a beer. Right. And I mean, do you have anything like that, or do you always just have single beers of things you want to try? You don't have a 6-pack of, like, for me, it depends. I'll go and have a 6-pack of Black Butte Porter from Deschutes, or I'll have a 6-pack of Mother Earth's Cali Cream Ale, or I'll have a 6-pack of, Payette's Brewing's North Fork Lager, or the Vienna Flyline Lager. Right. There's certain beers I just love drinking where I want to, I just want to have a beer that tastes great and I don't need to think about it. Do you have anything like that you just like grab a 6-pack as your daily drinker?
So I really don't. And a lot of that's because of both the move from Reno to Atlanta just over a year ago and COVID. So when I was in Reno, you buy a 4-pack, and I had a lot of beer drinking buddies out there that were all very big into craft beer. So we'd trade up, so okay,
Yeah.
everybody buys a 4-pack and then we'll trade out and everybody ends with one of each kind or whatever.
Nice.
But, living in Atlanta now for just a year in the era of COVID, when it's not, really reasonable to go out and do a lot of socialization, I'm buying a lot of 4-packs, but only because I want to try the beer, know?
Yeah.
So I'll end up with a 4-pack in the fridge and drink them over time. So,
Okay. Well, that works.
So Denny, before you move forward on this, I
Yeah.
posted the question on Facebook. Do you guys have a go-to beer? Steve Korsman, which is Florida Steve on Untapped, he said Cigar City High Lie or Boston Lager. And
yeah. Okay.
and I'll admit Boston Lager was probably one of my first getting me into craft beer.
It's a lot of people's first, yeah.
Yeah. That was my first. And then Eric Gronley said, my go-to beer is Summit Brewing Keller Pills. It's the most delicious everyday beer and perfect to share with anyone.
There you go. Nice,
Can't
easy
argue
drinker.
with that.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the question that I love. And this is one you probably prepared for. I like to find out if people think about if they were to open their own brewery, what they would name their brewery. Or if you don't think about that, if you were to name a beer, like a favorite beer style, whatever, like what would you name your beer if you could pick a name for a beer or a brewery or both?
I totally forgot about that.
Oh my
question.
God.
Yes. That one. So I know Chris is big into camping. I do a ton of hiking and backpacking and camping. It's one of my big passions.
Going next week,
life.
Actually.
Are you? Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. I'm constantly out on the trails, just climbing new mountains, doing that kind of stuff that I've never been to before. So not to toot his horn here, but I loved John's Trek Brewing. I loved that name and kind of the graphical theme that he uses, which is kind of like trail oriented.
Yeah.
So
Adventure.
I would probably, I haven't thought of a specific name, but probably something along the lines of that.
Okay. Yeah. So I at first, when I first heard of Trek, I was like, okay, that's interesting. First thing I thought of is the bikes, right? Trek bikes.
Mm-hmm.
But then the more that John explained that the reasoning behind coming up with Trek, and then seeing the way that he picks the beer names and the names all have themes around adventure, right? We talk about craft beer adventures, craft beer journeys. And what better name than to have Trek Brewing, because it's an adventure, right? And you're on this trek, this adventure, and you're going and drinking. And what do you drink when you're on a trail? You're drinking Canteen Cream Ale, right? He just released a new can art, or I'm assuming it's going to be can art. Maybe it's just a tap handle, but new art for his Canteen Brewing or Cream Ale. And it's a canteen on a cliffside, a waterfall with the beer coming out of the canteen down the waterfall. It's brilliant, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I saw that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love it. I love the thought behind that. And what better beer to drink when you're on a trail than drink, hiking
Cream ale.
than a cream ale, right? It's easy. It's going to quench your thirst. So yeah, I agree. Trek was a great name. One of the logos that I fell in love with was from a local brewery here in Boise. It's the brewery is Lost Grove Brewing, but their logo is the bottom of a boot print. Oh, there it is.
There it is. Freaking love technology.
It is 12 ounce. So he I didn't notice the 12 ounce until just now. So he is preparing for packaging.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that's fantastic, because I love that whole scene. So there's the scene of his Canteen Cream Ale. So
that's freaking great.
Yeah, that's really good art.
So I need to talk to John and find out if he is like doing a portable canning system, or if he bought one of those really small canning systems that people are buying now. They have some real small ones that are not too expensive, $25,000 or so, and allows small breweries like Jim Dandy. They just bought one, and I can't remember the name of it. It's from that weird name of, like some kind of, I don't know, some kind of weird name canning company, but you can buy a canning thing that can do 90 cans an hour or something, right? That can go ahead and give you some packaging options without spending $150 to $1 million in a packaging line, right? And I wonder if John's doing that. I need to talk to him about it. But I do love that label. So thanks for
Yeah,
sharing
that's
that.
a good label. That's a really good label.
That's definitely one I want to tear off of a can and put on a magnet.
Yeah. We'll get a chance to do that maybe. Okay. So, I was going back to, Lost Grove Brewing has, their like logo is the bottom of a boot print. And it's like, it's got a tree in there, and it's like really cool. And I don't have an example, but I fell in love with that. And then I kind of like, thought, man, if Trek Brewing would have had this bottom of a boot print with Trek, on there across the bottom or something.
What was
I
the
think that would
beer
just been-
called?
No, it's their logo. It's Lost
Oh.
Grove Brewing. Go search for Lost
Sorry,
Grove.
I'm in there. I'm getting it.
Come on, man.
But keep talking. I'm working on it.
Step up. But
Ah,
yeah, so that's what if I would have brought my little metal, they also, when they're opening, they had you bought a metal pint glass, and you can bring this pint glass, the boot. So it has a tree in the, of course, now it's all,
oh, it takes you right to their Untapped
but you can,
page.
just click that can real quick, and you can see oh man, come
I'm-
on, Chris, be professional.
I'm freaking fired.
But you see, it has like a boot print with a tree
Oh
as
yeah.
the treads in the middle. And
Nice.
I fell in love with that design. And I thought, man, would have been awesome if Trek Brewing would have had a similar Trek boot print, trekking through the woods, and, have
Collaboration time. Just saying.
Yeah. So, okay. I didn't mean to get sidetracked on that, but
All right.
Okay. I will say while I do love my craft beer, when I'm backpacking, beer is a little too heavy. So you gotta go with something a little stronger, some scotch or whiskey or something like that. A little more bang for the buck.
Yeah.
Gotta control that weight.
Yeah, if you're
carrying
carrying it, you better get
Yeah.
something big in there.
So
Exactly.
you, oh no, but you're putting it in a flask though, right? You're
Yeah,
carrying
pretty
a
much.
smaller amount, but you get a bigger bang for that
Exactly.
small amount. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I don't blame you there. All right. So, okay. So something adventure, like, any beer names that you've thought about? Like you don't homebrew, do you, Mike?
I don't. I've helped a lot of friends homebrew
Yeah.
over the years, but I've never actually run
Have
the
you
setup
helped
myself.
name any beers that you guys brewed together?
I actually helped one of the breweries. So when I was in Reno, I had a lot of brewer friends that actually worked at the breweries. And when New England IPAs were first becoming a thing, one of my friends that's a brewer was brewer for Tahoe Mountain. Now she works for a place called Tentor out there. She was kind of experimenting with New England IPAs. So me and some friends had brought in some Trillium and Treehouse from East and brought it out to Reno. And we're tasting with her just to kind of let her figure out what it was and how to make a New England IPA. And we started talking about what to name it because she was going to attempt it. She ended up making a really good one. Well, we ended up naming it the Mayor of Midtown. So Midtown Reno is kind of the little artsy craft beer area of Reno. And my buddy that was kind of involved in this with me used to be the sales rep for Southern, and those were all of his accounts. And he's just that kind of shake the hand, kiss the baby type guy. And so he had the name the Mayor of Midtown.
Oh, okay.
And since he was involved, we just kind of named the beer the Mayor of Midtown. So it
Yeah.
worked out. It was actually a really good beer. And it actually rivaled like Trillium and Treehouse's stuff.
Oh, good.
For New England IPAs.
Oh, good.
So she did a great job with that.
Nice. Okay, well, we'll let you off the hook with that one. Now comes the final question we always like to ask our listeners. And this is, how do you rate your beers? By overall enjoyment or by enjoyment according to the style?
Denny, you're right on this one.
Yes, I'm right.
So remember, I did do my certified Cicerone a couple years ago. So I've studied all this stuff, and I don't necessarily use it for a lot, but if the brewery labels it a certain style, I rate to that style.
Mm-hmm.
If it's like a hybrid or some undefined style, which a lot of stuff these days is. I mean,
Yeah.
how do I rate a German chocolate imperial stout? I can't rate that against an imperial stout.
No.
So I'll basically try to rate those against the description that the brewery gives. So
Okay.
if they tell me I should get these things, if I get those things, hey, better rating. If I don't, then okay. And then if I don't have a description and they don't call it a particular style or it's not available, where I can see it easily, then at that point I'll rate to overall enjoyment. But that's kind of my system.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. It's perfect sense. All right.
What am I like the third person that agrees with you?
Yeah.
on that thing or
Yeah. It's
something
like, yeah. I mean, A second. There's been at least 3 besides me.
All right. Oh, come on. Florida Steve couldn't agree more. Rate by style. There's
Yes,
your
thank you. Thank you, Steve.
The way I think about it is if they set it as a style, the brewery I'm talking about, they
Right.
call it a particular style, they're setting my expectation. And so
Yeah.
I drink the beer, I expect it to be what that style kind of, brings into my mind.
Exactly.
And if it doesn't, then it's a disappointment.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
I had one of the local breweries here in Atlanta, Cherry Street, had what was it? I want to say it was a Flanders Red that they were doing. I may be wrong about that. This is a while back, and I'd had a few beers, but they called it a Flanders Red, and it was more like a brown ale. And I'm like, what is this crap? There's no sour nose, no tart nose to this at all. And Ode Bruins and Flanders Reds are 2 of my very favorite styles. So yeah, that didn't get a very high rating. And they make good beer. That's nothing against the brewery. It was a tasty beer. It just was not what they set my expectation to be.
Yeah. They should have adjusted the style so people wouldn't be expecting nothing's worse than when you expect a certain style and it's not that style, right? You had expectations. I was like I'll drink beers for what I'm in the mood for. And if I want an imperial stout and it's an imperial stout that's just an imperial stout or a Russian imperial stout, nothing extra, I want to make sure that beer is an imperial stout, not an English barley wine, right? I love English barley wines, but don't tell me it's an imperial stout when it's an English barley wine, which brings me to a beer I just had.
Before you get into that beer, Steve Korsman said you label it a New England IPA, it better be hazy and citrusy.
Which is my problem with a certain brewery that I
know. And you know what, Mike, I agree with you, right? If they're going to name it New England Hazy, you're right. It has to meet those qualities. And if it doesn't, then yeah, it could be changed. I still love that brewery's beer. Although I have cut back on, I used to grab everything that came in. I'd grab it. And then now I'm being very selective because I'm getting kind of burnt out on New England hazy IPAs. I won't call New England. I'll say hazy IPAs. And unless that hazy has something a lot different than what every other hazy has, and especially from this brewery, because a lot of their hazies taste a lot alike, then I'm just I'm kind of passing and going for things that have a unique flavor now.
Yeah.
But I was going somewhere with something, and I got sidetracked with it was naming an IPA.
In that brewery's defense, I do want to mention that I have the utmost respect for their brewing ability. They do make very, very good beers. It's just that particular issue with them labeling stuff New England IPA or any IPA, which could be Northeast. Depends on who you talk to.
True. But it's not Northeast.
Early on, they had no citrus to them, and there were some other practices that brewery has done that I'm aware of, because I used to live about 2 miles from that brewery and was up there fairly often. Some other practices that they, do that just I didn't really care for that. I'm actually acquainted with the owner, and not a bad guy, but just some of the stuff kind of was not what I like. So I'm not naming them because I don't want to throw them under the bus.
We won't name them. But have you had I was shocked at having some of the non-IPA beers, and
they do some great stouts.
Yeah, incredible. The stout was incredible beer. The lager, a incredible lager too, which is completely different from a stout or an IPA, right? To be able to nail that style is incredible.
I've never had a lager from them. I've had their stouts, and I do think they make outstanding West Coast IPAs.
Mm-hmm.
Does the brewery name rhyme with Schmivision?
It might.
Okay,
come on, man. We're not calling anyone out.
I'm not calling anyone out either.
All right, so I think we finished. I think we pretty much. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I was going to quickly say that I had a very good beer. I'm not going to talk about my new noteworthy because it wasn't a noteworthy beer, but it's still noteworthy enough to mention it. And I thought this might be a good opportunity to mention it. Guinness put out a couple beers that were special release 11-ounce bottles of Imperial Stout. And and one was an imperial stout by itself with barrel aged, and another one was an imperial stout that was gingerbread spiced. And I got kind of ripped off on the gingerbread spice. I paid $10. I didn't realize it was $10. I think they double charged me for this beer because everywhere else people are saying it's like $4.50 a bottle, but I paid $10.
That's what I paid for it.
Yeah, I paid $10, which kind of pissed me off. So, but the problem, Mike, you had this beer?
Yeah, I had both of them actually.
So, tell me if I'm totally off, but again, you're a man that likes to see a style and then want to experience that style. And when I see an imperial stout with some gingerbread, I want to have a thick, rich, malty stout with some gingerbread spices, ginger and some nutmeg spices in there to give it that gingerbread character. And what I got was a lightly colored, maybe mahogany. If I'm stretching it's mahogany color. It might be a little bit lighter than that. No malt. I mean, no roast character to it at all. Zero roast. Good, nice, good gingerbread character. But to me, I'm drinking this beer and I couldn't stop thinking about the fact that, man, this is a fantastic English barley wine with ginger spices in it because it was thinner.
Yeah, it had the body of a barley wine more so than
the
stout.
barley. Yeah. And it tasted like a fantastic. Now, if they would have told me this was a barley wine, I would have gave this a higher rating because that's what that beer was. But because they told me it was an imperial stout, it was the furthest thing I could even imagine an imperial stout being. And I have the real imperial stout one without the flavor. I haven't tried that one yet because I was so disappointed in this one as far as being a stout that I haven't, sucked up and done the other one. But I rated it three. I rated I think 3.75 rating. Two reasons. One, because I paid way too much for it, and two, because it wasn't an imperial stout. Now, if they would have told me it was an English barley wine, I would have given it at least one cap. I would have given it 4 3/4 cap and knocked off a quarter cap for the price reaming that I got. But I couldn't rate it to the style because it wasn't an imperial stout. Now, what do you think? Did you think this was an imperial stout?
So I definitely agree with you as far as like the body of the beer. It was much thinner than what an imperial stout should be. When I caught the adjuncts on there, the gingerbread spice, it kind of just it took me out of imperial stout land.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even really looking for that necessarily. I was more tasting for the gingerbread and the cinnamon and the nutmeg and stuff. And I definitely got that.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the beer.
Yeah, me too.
I did think it was pretty good, but I agree with you. I mean, it was. I can't say what their actual malt bill was for that beer. I mean, presumably they're using an actual imperial stout malt bill. But as far as like if I were judging that at a contest or something, it would be more in the barley wine category.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. It wouldn't win an award in the style it was presented in. There's no way it couldn't win.
Not for a stout, no.
Yeah. No. Okay. I just had to get that off my chest because I didn't have another opportunity to talk about it until we hit here.
All right. Well, it'll be $2.50 an hour for your therapy session.
All right. Well, let's move on. Before we get on any further, I always like to do a little bit of a shout out to our Patreon supporters. This episode is brought to you by, or at least in part by, our satisfied Patreon supporters like Mr. Mike Allen right here with us today, and William Slimmer, who are our virtual producers. And of course, Tom Byrne, Jeff Seiler, Johan Halberg, Tara Carlson, Chad Lamassa, and Mark Church, who want to buy us a virtual beer. Thanks, you guys. We love our virtual beers. And if you enjoy the content that we provide, we invite you to also support the show by toasting your host or buying us a virtual beer or even becoming a virtual producer. You can explore the options on our support page by visiting patreon.com/tapthecraft. Whew. All right. And we don't have, I'll mention, I don't have it written in our notes. We did get an email this morning, or maybe it was last night, but I read it this morning from William Slimmer, one of our virtual producers. And he went to our website and he went to our Facebook page. He was trying to find out, when we record so he could join us on our virtual actually not virtual. We're actually doing it, right? This is our live Facebook recording. Now, Do we have any way of knowing if William is on the? We don't have any way of
I
knowing, do we?
did see his name pop up on our feed
Okay.
a little while ago, and I will I will admit to a handful of people that are on here, guys. I'm sorry that we've recorded while the Buckeye game is going on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there is a national championship, but who cares? It's
Ah,
Ohio
Easy,
State and
easy.
Alabama. I
Easy.
couldn't care less.
You might, or you're
I
sorry,
w-
you
if
might
I would have
not.
cared, I would have postponed the show to tomorrow. But because Mike and I don't care, right? You care, Mike?
no, I don't follow college sports at all.
Okay, look,
do
I
follow
don't
college
I don't
sports, but-
either. But I also had 14 people, it feels like, reach out to me, go, but it's during the Buckeyes game.
Well, don't listen to the commentary. The commentary is probably horrible anyway. Just listen to us and then watch the game, I guess, or put us in picture in picture.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll pull up YouTube TV. We'll put the game on and we'll stream it right through this freaking.
That
Yeah,
might
right.
really kill our bandwidth. Or that might
my
also be.
gosh.
We might be violating some copyright stuff too.
Yeah,
That wouldn't be good.
so funny enough, I tried to do that. I think right before Christmas, I tried to do just a quick Zoom meeting. I think it was, hey, I'm having a beer out on the back porch. Come join me. And I was watching A Christmas Story, and
Okay.
and I started watching it on my laptop, and I clicked share screen, and the Zoom was like, oh no, no, you can't do that. The whole screen was black, and I was just slightly disappointed. So
Yeah, I mean, I joined you on that call.
You
it was
did.
you and me.
it was you, and yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah,
Yep.
so we had
No one else cares. It's just Denny.
Yeah,
So
I'm
it's-
here for you, man.
Mhm.
It's a good thing I grabbed that second beer because the Helm's Deep is gone now. So moving on.
Being
Nice,
prepared.
nice. All right. Well, so William Slimmer was looking to find out if we have a calendar of that tells us when we're recording, so he could be more prepared to be ready when we record. And you know what? We didn't until today. So after I got that, I went ahead and on the website, I created a calendar and I put in 2 months worth of recording and release schedule for the show. Now, these are tentative as of right now. In February, I haven't talked to Chris yet, but I'll talk to him about it. I might
How
have
about
to
right
readjust the recording for that first episode in February because I want to bring on a friend of mine who was also a former submariner to talk beer. He's home brewing, he's drinking beer. We have a lot in common. Now, I haven't decided if we're going to do that as a full show or if I'm going to do that as a half show, like just he and I get together because I don't want Chris to be bored out of his mind if we start talking Navy stuff.
That's okay.
So we'll figure out what's going on.
And by the way, William Schlemmer is still on here, and he said,
Okay.
I had no idea that Ohio was playing. Could care
I
less.
love it. I love it. All right. I love it. Okay. So I do have a calendar on there. And what I did is if you go all the way to the bottom of the homepage, that's where the calendar lies with a nice little image behind it. But I do have a link at the very top of the page that will take you to the calendar with not so pretty image that you can easily see when our schedule is for the next. Oh, look at Chris go. What? Whoa.
Crap.
Wow.
That's not
Alabama's
good.
winning. No.
That's not okay. So look, we're like what, halfway through the second quarter. We'll be fine.
Okay. Yeah, it's a close game. At least it's close.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
so thank you, William, for writing in. Now we have a calendar. I don't know what Chris can do on the Facebook page. He's in charge of that, but I took care of the web page for you. So you can go to the web page and check it out.
I've got an idea.
Okay. Well, I'll let you think about that and we can announce it when we get that thing
Make
going.
myself a note here. Post-it notes.
But that was pretty much the comment. I mean, I think John made a couple comments to us on texting. I forget. I don't remember if it was this last episode or the episode before when I mentioned about the 20. I mentioned Dr. Pepper, and I accidentally said 27 or whatever. I don't know how many flavors are in Dr. Pepper. I don't drink Dr. Pepper, and he corrected us with 23 flavors. Is that correct, Chris?
Oh.
23. You don't know? We don't know. We just talking out my
Fine.
butt, right?
Fine. Here we go.
You can
As
look it up, but-
as Joel would say, this is my Google face.
so John is interacted and made some comments, but that doesn't count. He's part host, so
It's
I can't
23.
take him.
23 ingredients,
23
not
flavors.
27,
Yeah,
Denny.
yeah. Well, whatever.
Get
But
it
I
straight,
laughed.
damn it, guys. Come on.
But if you would like to correct us from our incorrect data that we're putting on the show, you can do that easily.
Eric
You can-
Gronley did it for us. He said 23. Yep.
you can leave your comments and questions through email like William did. Just email us at taptocraft@gmail.com or on Twitter or Instagram. Just follow us at taptocraft, and feel free to leave those comments on our Facebook page at facebook.com/taptocraft. And of course, come visit our webpage, taptocraft.com. I'm updating it, weekly with new stuff on there. So come and check it out. I got the blog going a while ago, but I only have 3 posts. I need to do another post for that. I've got the calendar going now. We got videos. We got the podcast. I even got a little shopping thing. So if you want to find a few gifts that we recommend that you guys try, you can do that. We also have our Amazon banner link that you just click that and go buy your stuff on Amazon, and we get a few pennies per item that you buy. And you know what? Before you know it's the end of the year, those pennies might add up. So go ahead and
Those pennies
support us
do
that way.
add up.
They do add up. Yeah.
I bought some more stuff today, Denny.
Oh, awesome, Chris. Man, you're
think.
supporting us pretty good.
Yeah. I needed a new stand for my monitors, and I needed the attachments to make the computer monitors attached to the stand. So
Okay. Man, you're getting fancy. I saw you bought a light too. Was that you?
I did.
Yeah. I assumed it was you because you're getting your whole podcasting video setup going here with a big old fancy movie light.
Yeah. It's well, I mean, you saw what it was, and I bought it, and I'm going, man, do I really need this thing? And I sat for a second, and I went,
mm-hmm.
Yep, I certainly do. Click.
Well, you got the green screen, man. All I got is a bunch of beer bottles in my background. I don't have the fancy greens, but I don't need a green screen. I've got the best green screen.
You really do. This is great, right? Thank you to the Mandalorian. That's great, but I can't compete with that. That's time and effort and your LED lights. And by the way,
I didn't turn them on yet.
Oh, yeah.
Man, how could I forget to turn the lights on?
Amateur.
And liver too. Don't forget that's liver. That's
Yeah. Yeah. So
all right, now the lights are on. Now it's complete.
So I don't know if it showed up in our purchases for what I bought, but I bought a set of LED lights, kind of like what you have under your shelves there, that I can control with my Alexa.
Oh, nice.
And I built this coffee table thing about 7-8 years ago that the dogs can go in. It's all nice. I put the LED lights inside so you can say, and I call it the grotto. So if you say, Alexa, turn on the grotto lights, they come on.
So I also have quite a few smart switches and things in my house. Again, we're getting sidetracked, but hey, this is important. Like, I have the front lights hooked up to a smart switch that I don't have to worry about ever turning them on and off. I like to have lights outside to keep the burglars away, right?
Yep.
It automatically goes and it's set to turn on at sunset and turn off at sunrise. I don't have to worry about it. It just does it. I love it. And I have a smart switch or a plug that we use for our Christmas tree. Sarah just has to say, Alexa, turn on tree, and boing, the tree comes on.
Well, that thing should have done that on its own when you bought it 15 years ago.
Hey, the small things.
All right.
Easy.
All right. Eric Gronley said, I got your back, guys, when it comes to the 23. Thanks for the verification, Eric. It's with the help of our listeners that help us take care of this whole thing.
All right, Chris. Well, drink up because you guess what time it is. It's time to untap the craft and see what our listeners are drinking according to Untapped.
So we're going to start out. Let's see. It goes from 1 day ago to 5 hours ago. All right. If that's what it says, Kevin Page is going to be our first one on the Untap the Craft segment. He's drinking an Apparitional Disintegration by Burial Beer Company. Checking into the Untapped at home, and he's drinking this, Denny, out of one of his B cups.
Oh, nice.
You can't go wrong.
Which
there.
he didn't buy from our link, by the way. Kevin, come on, man.
What the hell? I thought we were friends.
Pissing us off. You don't want to support the show. Come on, man.
That's fine. During the apparitional disintegration by Burial Beer Company, 4 1/4 caps for that beer, and his comments were just bored. Put it.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Wait, before we go on, Mike, do you get burial in your area?
We do not get it, but
Oh.
my in-laws live about 45 minutes north of Asheville, so we were up that way quite often. So even if it's only a matter of placing an order and picking it up as we pass through Asheville, I do get burial pretty often these days.
How
Okay.
far is Burial, or how far is Asheville from you guys?
It's about 3 hours. It's about 3.5 to my in-laws.
Okay.
So about 3 hours from where we're at.
Okay.
All right. That's pretty good.
That's the distance from here to my daughter in Pocatello, which
Yeah.
is where Jim Dandy is, which I drive to go there just to drink Jim Dandy beer.
All right.
And
next
burial's good stuff. Burial does some
Oh
really
yeah,
good stuff.
they really do. All right, next on the list is from Johann Hallberg. He's drinking a Hibernation Ale 2020 by Great Divide Brewing Company, and writes, "Got some serious amounts of snow today, and this is the perfect winter beer. Malty, sweet, a bit of spice and hops for balance. Great. 4 1/4 caps for that beer." Excuse me. Next on the list is going to be Kevin Page again, is drinking a Cosmos Pie by Tactical Brewing Company, checking in at that Untapped at Home location again. 3 3/4 caps for this beer, and he says doesn't grow chest hair. It looks like this one's a collaboration with Dissolver as well. Next on the list is going to be Jeff Seiler. Jeff, I'm gonna have to just come to your house and hang out with you, because it looks like
I'm coming to Jeff's house.
in
I'm
the
coming
woods,
to Jeff's house. Yeah,
right?
I know. He has a nice back porch looking in the woods all the time with his beers.
Yep. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to.
Wait,
Anyway,
maybe you camp in his backyard when you go camping.
yeah, I mean, and you know what, Mike? He's like right outside of Asheville. So.
Oh well, hey Jeff, I'm on my way. I'll be there in a couple of hours.
Is this the same beer that's in my new and noteworthy? No, it's a different one. Okay, just making sure. All right, Jeff is drinking a double dry hopped double Simcoe Daydream by Other Half Brewing Company. He writes, delicious hazy IPA from Other Half, tropical, creamy, and so crushable. I almost put the O in there. 4 1/4 caps for that beer. Next on the list is going to be scrolling. Jeff, if you get this beer in your area, I'm going to be slightly upset. Jeff Seiler is drinking a Royal Fresh by Deschutes Brewery. If you're
Royal
getting
Fresh,
if you're getting Deschutes at your place and I'm not getting it down here, I'm going to write my congressperson. He's drinking it out of his B cups too. Delicious hazy double IPA from Deschutes, piney, juicy, and hides the 9%. Solid 4 1/4 caps.
Okay, I got to find that beer. I haven't had that one yet.
Yeah, same.
Let's see. Tara Carlson is drinking a Press 1 now to claim your free Caribbean cruise by Tradition Brewing Company. A little heavy-handed with the hops, she says. Pairs well with the pizza crust made with spent grains from one of Jim's brews. Found the grain way in the back of the fridge. Thanks for the beer, Martin K. Marty. And that's a pretty cool can art too, because it looks like the front of an iPhone. There's a decline and an accept button for the call. 3 3/4 caps for that beer. I love doing these. Continuing his check-in streak for week number 62 or show number 62 in a row. Chad Lamassa is drinking a Janina by Chesapeake. That looks like it spells Chesapeake, but it's spelled all funny. Anyway, Chad, how do I say this? You're going to have to message me or something. Anyway, pick this up at the brewery this past Saturday. Second time there in as many weeks. This is a fantastic Rausch beer. Tons of smokiness, nice malt flavors too. Gave it 5 caps. That's saying a lot for a Rausch beer.
Yeah. If you have a smoked beer, that's a 5. That's a good beer. I think Chad went out for a brew cruise on Saturday, because he had a couple of breweries, and I was like salivating over some of the beers that he had on his flights. I just wanted to try those really
Well,
bad.
he was in my so this place is in Crofton, which is about 15 minutes from where I grew up.
Mm.
So he was in and around my old stomping grounds. So that's pretty cool. William Schlemmer is drinking a second setting by Half Acre Beer Company at the State Street Station. It says easy drinking double IPA, some pine notes along with some tropical fruit, like a hazy double IPA. 4 1/4 caps for that beer. Next on the list is going to be Robert, Chew Your Beer, drinking a Bunny Hill IPA by Almanac Beer Company. And he said, this beer was a label buy from my wife. She did good. It's not
A
one of
label
those.
buy.
Yeah.
So the label must be good.
Yeah. I mean, it's on the front of it. It's I like the name Bunny Hill IPA. So it's kind of the pine trees and the evergreens, and then it's just written in the snow, Bunny Hill IPA. Pretty simple though, which I like a lot. The label art is pretty damn cool, and he gave that 4 caps for that rating. And I like your he's drinking it out of a Pac-Man glass. So the glass he's drinking out of is the board from Pac-Man. Let's see who's next on the list. Mike Allen.
Mike Allen.
He's drinking a German chocolate Helm's Deep by 2020 by Three Taverns Brewing.
The fourth wall just got broken.
Yep, it's gone. Yep. He writes.
Allow me to model it for you.
Yeah. Where's the can?
I'll Vanna White it here.
That's right. The description is right on. Oh no, where'd my screen go?
Come on, man. Professional.
You calm down, Denny. I about had it out of you. There it goes.
If you need me to fill in a commentary, I can talk.
There we go. So I've got the whatever. The description is right on. Something of a sugar bomb when it first hits the tongue, but the sweetness quickly mellows to allow the dark chocolate and hints of coconut to shine through. Probably not a good idea to age this one much more. 4 3/4 caps for that one. And hey, we'll give him a toast on that one because he tagged us both in it, Denny.
I say don't age it because I had the 2018 at the brewery when I picked the bottle up, and all the other notes had faded.
Dropped out,
after
yeah.
2 years.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Next on the list is going to be Eric Gronley. He's drinking a Glasgow Kiss by Starry Eyed Brewing Company. Big multi-sipper, really smooth chocolate, caramel, and dark fruit flavors. I had to look up the meaning of the beer. It's a Scottish soccer term for headbutt.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
like that. Okay.
I didn't know that.
Glasgow Kiss. Okay. 4 cap rating for that beer, which it's pretty funny. I like that. Let's see. Next on the list, Tom Byrne is drinking a Isn't Life Just Sweet by Woodland Empire Alecraft.
Oh,
He said he forgot to check this one in from a couple of weeks ago. 3 3/4 caps rating for that one.
what style was it? Can you tell me, please?
I can certainly tell you that, Denny. You just have to give me a few seconds to send the signal to space. It's a pastry stout.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep, it's a pastry stout. B-sides series, pecan pie pastry stout.
Okay.
I had to check in. Let's see what else. Florida Steve drinking a Dawn Keeper by There Does Not Exist. Light on the haze, he says, not on the flavors. Citrus, tropical fruit, and a little bitter note. Grapefruit peel, maybe? Thanks, Tony. I gave it a 4 1/4 cap rating for that beer. And let's hit refresh to see if anything else pops up.
That's it? Oh.
Hang on. I'm getting there. We had Eric Gronley with the Pineapple Guppy from Pipeworks. The pineapple and citrus the pineapple and citrus in here is spot on, and that's all I have to say about that. 4 cap rating for that beer. And Mike, I'm not going to read you.
Wait, was that a Forrest Gump impression?
That was a Forrest Gump impression.
Maybe a little bit. That's all I have to say about that. Mike drinking the barrel-aged Wicked Whisper, the maple version by Moonraker.
Oh, wow. That looks fancy.
Yeah, the maple is strong with this one.
I actually got this one at their, I think it was their 3rd anniversary party a couple years ago. I've been sitting on that one in the cooler for a while.
What a wonderful time to break it out, too.
Yeah.
Pretty tasty. Moonraker's a great brewery. That was one of my favorite breweries that we would visit, about an hour and a half from Reno over near Sacramento.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was a California brewery. I haven't been to Moonraker, but I've been to breweries in the Sacramento area, like I'm going to say probably 6 or 7 years ago now. I think I was in that area.
Yeah,
So
they're
before
probably like 5 years old, maybe.
yeah, before they, so I was there, actually, I was there the month or actually 2 weeks before Knee Deep opened.
So they are literally like 100 yards from Knee Deep.
Okay.
And if you don't know this, one of the founders of Knee Deep is the founder and owner of Revision.
Yes, I know that.
I mean,
I've
Schmivision.
I'm just stating facts now, not opinions. So.
Yeah. No, I did know that because I did listen to I've listened to him on a few different podcasts, and I do enjoy hearing about his story and about, the whole process and stuff. But yeah, I did know that. But yeah, so that I don't remember. So if we figure out when Knee Deep opened, a week or two before they opened, I toured that whole Sacramento Valley area and went to Lagunitas when they were still Lagunitas and not owned by a big beer, and which we're going to talk about here in a few minutes. So I shouldn't spoil the
jumping the gun.
Yeah. Are we done, Chris?
That's what everybody's drinking.
Okay. Now it's time for the brew buzz. But before we get started, is everyone good, or they got to take a break here? Are you good, Mike?
I'm good for the moment.
Okay. So let's get into the brew buzz. And the brew buzz is devoted to discussing various beer-related topics. And this week we are discussing our virtual producers topic, which is Beercation destinations. So what we're going to do is I sent Mike. I don't have any idea what Mike's got written down. He doesn't know what I have written down. Chris knows what I have written down. Chris has nothing written down, so that's okay. He's going to fill in the blank. But
off the cuff.
But what I'm going to do is I'm going to let Mike, I'm going to let you lead the show here. And what I asked Mike to do is let's come up with the locations of where you think a great beercation destination would be, and some reasons why this is a good spot to go, and some breweries you should visit, and any extra activities that you might want to do while you're there too. Because a lot of times we don't go to beercation destinations typically just for the beer. Now that's the main reason, but there's other things you're probably doing too while you're there that may have brought you to that area, and you're just going and checking out all the breweries while you're there. It's always good to have extra stuff to do. So that's what this whole flow is going to be. I'll let Mike provide a couple things. If Chris and I have been there and have some input, we'll fill in some input. If we have questions, we'll ask the questions, of course. And then I'll fill in some of my locations. I know that Mike and I have some shared destinations, so we can easily talk about those destinations, and he already knows what my destinations are, so I'm sure he's not going to overlap purposely. If he does, it's okay. We'll just combine it.
We can jump into him.
Yeah. So Mike, why don't you go ahead and start off with your first beercation destination?
So, you kind of mentioned this, and this is kind of key for me, in that when I'm kind of putting a trip together, rarely is it, not saying never, but rarely is it just to hit the breweries. Usually, like, there's something going on to bring me to that city. And then while I'm there, I'm like, okay, well, I've got this one thing that's going to last 3 hours or something and 2 days to hit breweries. So, the one thing will bring me there. So I know this one was on your list too, Denny. So I don't mean to steal your thunder here, because a couple of mine probably are. But again, we can get into this. Seattle was my first one that I was going to touch on.
It's also my first one, so I have the most to say about this. So
all right.
We can go ahead and bounce back. You go ahead and talk first.
All right, fair enough. So this would be about 3.5 years ago. I grew up listening to U2. I mean, I'm a guitarist myself, but played in bands in like high school and college. But huge U2 fan, especially Joshua Tree. Back in 2017, they did their 30th anniversary of the Joshua Tree release. They did kind of an anniversary tour, and it hit Seattle. Well, at that point in time, my wife and I were living in Reno. I had never been to Seattle, but always wanted to go. So thought, hey, that's a great reason to fly up Seattle for a long weekend. So took a Monday off and went up for that concert, which was amazing. They played the whole album from beginning to end, and then along with some other stuff too. I'm not going to remember the name of the football stadium up there, but they packed the football stadium in Seattle. Again, I forget the name of it, but great reason to be up there. But while we're there, had to hit a bunch of breweries. And I believe I actually had pinged you and John Denny
Mm-hmm.
on Facebook asking for recommendations because I think John lived there at the time or had recently moved out of there, but I was looking for recommendations from you guys. So you guys gave me a few recommendations, and I think everything you guys recommended and then some. We hit Rubens,
Mm.
which love Rubens Brews, great beer. Ghost Fist, which they do gluten-free beers,
Mm-hmm.
which I've never had very good luck with, but those are by far the best gluten-free beers I've ever had. We hit Cloudburst, Georgetown, had lunch at Brewers Cafe, which has this amazing list. That actually, I think we happened to be there in Seattle's craft beer week. Didn't know that when I planned
Oh,
the trip. But Brewers Cafe, we were there on like their sour day. So they had all of these sour flights that you could do. So we did a bunch of sour flights, got a couple of like cellar beers because they've got this like beer cooler that goes from here to eternity that you can order all kinds of aged stuff out of. So got a couple beers out of there. And then my wife loves mead. So
mm.
while we were up there, in addition to the breweries, we had a couple meaderies, Opagard and Icier. And I think we had a third one too, but I couldn't for the life of me remember the name of it. But really good time. Loved Rubens, loved Cloudburst, loved Ghostfish. Brewers Cafe was just amazing stuff, great food, and the beer there, just what they had available. It's not a brewery, obviously. It's just
Yeah.
a tap room / restaurant, but really amazing beer there.
All right. Okay. So I will agree. My number one beercation spot that I recommend people go. Now this is weird because it's Seattle, right? You just said why go to Seattle. You don't think of Seattle as being the place you want to go to, but there's so much to do in that area. Um, for one thing, there's a ton of breweries downtown, outskirts, just in the towns just outside of Seattle. I mean, you can do a lot of brewery tours wherever you're at in Seattle. Um, there's also a number of festivals, beer festivals that go on year round at different parts of the year. The Washington Beer Association, I think is what it's called. John's probably correcting me because he lived there, so he knows what it is. But they hold some really nice beer festivals, and I went to a couple of them when I was going. For a while, I was going to Seattle about twice a year to visit John and do these festivals and do stuff. And I really, every time I went, I just had a great time. And so if you want to go and you want to time it like you did by accident and at the craft beer week, and you actually hit a spot that you can taste some unique special one-off beers that you're not going to see anywhere else. I think I went to one of the anniversary festivals they had, and again, all these beers were one-off beers that were never produced before, which is kind of cool. And then not only beer drinking is fantastic there, but there's a lot of other stuff you can do while you're there outside of drinking. And the scenery is beautiful. I mean, come on, you have to admit, everywhere you look around, you've got Mount Rainier, you've got the mountains, right to the east of Seattle, you've got the Sound. If you happen to get a high up, if you're in downtown Seattle and you get a high up hotel room, you've got the beautiful Puget Sound and Lake Washington and all these lakes and islands. If it's not foggy and overcast, it depends. But I mean, it's beautiful. There's lots of outdoor activities. Now, I lived in Washington State when I was in the Navy. I was across the Sound at Bangor Sub Base there, and we would come to Seattle all the time and do activities and stuff. I actually hiked Mount Rainier several times, the Canyon Creek, Carbon Creek Canyon or whatever stuff. I've gone to the glacier. I've stopped at the glacier. I never went all the way up to the top of the glacier. You have to have special gear for that. But I've hiked all over Mount Rainier. I've hiked all over the Olympic Mountains, which is further to the west of Seattle. I've hiked and done all kinds of stuff when I was living in that area back in the 90s. And I love the beauty of the green, evergreen forests and stuff. It's really beautiful. You already mentioned most of the breweries that I said. Reuben's Brews is my favorite. I've gone there a number of times and I've tried, 50 beers or more, and I've never found a bad beer. They're from styles from sours to lagers to English beers to New England IPAs to big stouts, whatever. It doesn't matter. They do all the styles fantastic. If you go to Seattle, you have to go to Reuben's. Mike already mentioned that. Cloudburst, another small little brewery that no one's going to know about unless you go there and experience some great beers they have, fantastic IPAs. And it's right there near Pike's Place Market, which everyone goes to Pike's Place Market because that's like a known landmark. And while you're at Pike's Place Market, you better go to Pike's Brewing. Every time we go to Seattle, we eat at Pike's Brewing because it's it's a landmark, right? And it's close by and we enjoy. So you got to go there. Fremont Brewing. Did you go to Fremont while you're there?
I think we did. I was looking through my check-ins and I didn't see it, but I'm pretty sure we went to Fremont while we were
Yeah.
there. We hit like 13 breweries and meaderies while we were there over like a 3-day weekend. We hit a shit ton.
Yeah. Fremont is another brewery that you must go to if you're going to be in that area. It's in the Fremont area, just north of Seattle. Well, it's in Seattle, but just the north area. Fantastic. I mean, I talk about the Dark Star. I'm going to talk about several beers for our new Noteworthy that I had that were aged over several years. I mean, they make great beer, so you got to go there. You mentioned Ghost Fish. Ghost Fish is a gluten-free brewery that you would never know was gluten-free by drinking their beer. That's how good their beer is. I mean, it is fantastic. I've gone there. I mean, we're still buying now. Ghost Fish distributes to Boise. So I'm able to get some of this beer for my wife. The Watchstander Stout is fantastic. It's a GABF award winner. The grapefruit IPA is really good. They also have one that they did as a earning money for trails and stuff called I don't know. It's some other IPA that my wife's absolute favorite beer. She loves drinking that one. And they make great beer. And then one other beer that's outside of Seattle, but while you're there, and this is a brewery I have not had a chance to visit yet, but I so much want to because the owner literally is the guy that got me into craft beer. And that is Chuck and Nut Brewing in Bellingham, which is just north of Seattle. They do all lagers, award-winning lagers, but Thomas Kemper, this is the Kemper part of Thomas Kemper. That's the first brewery that I drank craft beer from next to the sub base that I was at. And it is still ingrained into my soul that experience and that beer is what drove me to drinking craft beer back in the early 90s. And I absolutely loved it. So he started this other, he went and did, not correspondence, but he helped other breweries start up. And now he came back and he opened this brewery and I need to visit. And when I go back to Seattle, we are going to visit next time because I've got to try that brewery. Some activities. I'm going to go deep into Seattle because I've done the most of Seattle. The other stuff we're not going to talk as deep in unless, of course, Mike, you have a lot of deep stuff to talk about. But I mentioned Pike's Place Market. You got to go there and just experience the fish market and also the crafts. There's so many artists that go and sell their crafts there, and the crafts are fantastic. We leave there every time we go. I've got 2 bags of stuff that I'm hauling back with me because my wife, can't help but buy some fantastic, arts and crafts from there. So it's great. You're going to have to go to the Space Needle. I mean, you don't have to eat dinner up there, but at least go and get reservations and go up to the top and just get the scenery. It's fantastic. It's worth the trip. There's also now, Mike, you're a big music guy, right? I know Chad Lamassa is a big music guy, but you're also a music guy. And if you're going to go to Seattle, I recommend going and checking out that the EMP, the Experience Music Project. It's like a pop culture museum. They have so many guitars. They have like a whole room devoted to Jimi Hendrix guitars and all these famous guitar, musicians' guitars. And they usually have some kind of special event. Like when we went to it, they had a Star Wars expedition up top where it had all the costumes and stuff from the original Star Wars movie. And my wife is a huge Star Wars fan, so we had to go and see that. But you see the main exposition, but then you go down and see all the stuff that's there all the time. It's a little bit expensive to get tickets to get in, but if you are a music fan, I think there's stuff you'll really enjoy. So that's another spot that I recommend. You mentioned, again, you don't know the stadiums, but there's 2 brand new stadiums, a baseball stadium and a football stadium. So go see a Mariners game or go see a Seahawks game if you want to see a professional sports, and then go drink beer while you're not doing that. While you're at the stadiums, now again, it's not quote craft brewing, but Elysian Brewing has a pub right there at the stadium, like, you know, in the area there. And I've gone and eaten there and drank there, and it's still, even though they're no longer craft, it's still good beer, good food, and very good service. And that's the key, because they could have given up that service and they didn't. They treated my wife like a queen, with all of her food allergies and sensitivities. They just bent over backwards to make sure she had a fantastic meal, and that means the world to, you know, to me. So I still have a sweet spot for Elysian.
We did hit Legion while we were there, and I think that was right after AB bought them, literally like a month or something after they bought them. Because I was kind of like, I'm not big on supporting big beer. I would prefer to support craft, but we were there, so I remember the beer being good. I don't think we ate there, but we did actually go there for some beer.
Yeah. We, like I said, the food's good and the beer's good, and I mean both. And like I said, the service, that's the key, right? Having them treat you with like you're special, that means a lot, and especially in this day and age when it's, you know, when so many times you're just going in another body and they just want to fill that seat with some other body. That wasn't the case. Some more cultural stuff that when we lived over there, that Sarah and I loved. We went to the Seattle Philharmonic Orchestra. We went to the Northwest Symphony and the Pacific Northwest Ballet. They have a lot of cultural stuff there that we just fell in love with, and we would go and see shows, and so if you're into that stuff, you're not going to, I mean, these are fantastic performers. You'll enjoy it. And then I'm a huge art fan also, and the Seattle Art Museum is fantastic. I've gone there a number of times. They always have one floor that is special exhibit that, you know, Seattle is one of those spots where, you know, these special exhibits may only stop at 4 spots in the US. Seattle is one of the spots they stop at, and you might get a chance to go see an exposition that you wouldn't have been able to see elsewhere. And I love that museum. It's a small building, but it goes straight up like 7 floors, and every floor has a different type of art in there, and it's cool. And then of course, take a ferry ride. Go see some. They have whale cruises where you can go see, you know, orca whales. You know, going and porpoising, and you can see dolphins. You can go out and do fishing trips, and I mean it's on the water. So go out there, and of course, enjoy the seafood that you can get. And one other thing I want to mention that's great is that you don't have to stay in town where it's expensive to get a hotel. They have a fantastic transit system that allows them for you to stay outside of city limits where it's cheaper, where you might only pay $200 a night instead of $400 a night for a room, and then take the light rail right into downtown where all the breweries are. And then they have a bus system that'll take you buy one pass, you can get down, you can just ride the system all day. And that's what's great about it. I've never actually stayed in Seattle proper. We've always stayed outside and just come and taken the transit system in. And I recommend you do that for all the big cities. Like DC, same thing. We stayed outside of DC and we rode the transit in, and then we didn't have to worry about driving back and forth. It was just like easy access in and out. All right. Chris, have you ever been to Seattle?
I haven't been to Seattle. I was just thinking about, though, kind of with kind of how you mentioned, hey, you could go and utilize the public transportation, and you mentioned DC, the metro is, you know, you could stay in an area like Bethesda or you know, Alexandria and get into the DC area rather quickly, and kind of on the cheap too.
Yeah. Sarah and I bought the card, right? Oh, the card's free. We put money on the card, and we just literally rode the transit into DC, did our stuff, and rode it back. And then you didn't have to worry about fighting that traffic getting out of downtown, right? I had driven down into DC, my first trip into DC, not realizing how bad the traffic was. And I missed my turn, and I went all the way to Rock Creek or whatever, you know, off some, and there's nowhere to turn around for like miles. And I ended up going way out of my way and coming back. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So after that, I just started taking transit. It was the best way.
So while you guys were talking about just Seattle, we had a handful of people chime in on places that they would like to go or they have gone for beercations. We've got Phoenixville, PA. Jim, I'm curious to know what's in Phoenixville, PA. Portland, Maine, Pittsburgh, PA. Asheville has come up a couple of times. Wilmington, North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, Tennant, Knoxville, Athens, Georgia. All right. Greenville, South Carolina. Eric Gronley's taking a trip to Arkansas, but making a pit stop in Kansas City. There you go, Mike.
Okay, Kansas City, yeah, I can see going to Kansas City for some beer, but Arkansas, is there beer in Arkansas?
Like they're going there for a friend's wedding in May. All right.
Bring your beer with you. Bring your beer with you.
Eric also said Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Chicago. Some people have definitely said Asheville. Steve Korsman, Tampa. I'll buy your first beer.
Yeah.
Asheville, San Diego. That's a good.
Asheville may come up again. Just saying.
Yeah. Let's see. Matthew Laney said Freem IPA is always one of my faves, and I said anything from Freem is definitely great.
Freem is my favorite Oregon brewery, I think.
Yeah,
and that's saying a lot because I drink a lot of Oregon beers over my years, and it's my favorite.
And then Jim Kudzall said Knoxville, Tennessee. Most draft beers were in the $4 range per pint, so I know where we're going next. Knoxville.
Wow, that's a lot of good. I mean, there's a lot of good places there that we are probably not going to talk about all of them, but those are some good spots. Like Pittsburgh for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I did go to Pittsburgh when I made that Trek brewing trip. Amanda Argauer, and Kevin, they treated us like we were royalty, and there was like a lot more breweries we could have visited, but man, we visited some good breweries, but I want to go back and visit more breweries there because it's a really good, and I was so surprised at how they fixed up Pittsburgh over the years. When I was there in the 80s, Pittsburgh was a dump, man. I went there and I said, I am never coming back. This place is scary, dirty. It was like all this like coal smog was like over my head. I'm like, this is not fun. When I went there and visited them and we stayed there for a few days, man, I fell in love with that town. And yeah, I want to go back for sure. Okay, Chris, how about you give us a spot you want to talk about? Because maybe Mike wants to talk about it too.
Yeah, so I know one of the big places that we have gone recently. Well, I don't know. It's been 3 years now. It might even be 4. Asheville.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So many people have said Asheville, and that specifically as far as just a beercation. And you don't even have to leave the city to go to 10 or 15 breweries. I swear there's like one every time you turn the freaking corner.
Mm-hmm.
But not only do you have that, you've got the mountains in the area, the Biltmore Estate, which they've got their own brewery and winery, and you can try all the wines for free if you want to give that a shot. But just all in itself, not only just the beers, the Biltmore Estate, the culture that's in that area between the restaurants and the live music and the outdoor scenery. I mean, it's kind of like Seattle, but on the East Coast,
and better weather.
And better weather, yeah.
Maybe a little bit smaller and less traffic.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Oh yeah. Wait, I have to say, you just mentioned traffic. The road system in Seattle sucks. It's it's like built back in the 70s and never updated for all those people that came in there. Just to let you know.
By blind people at that.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah. But I just remember, we stayed just, I believe, north of Asheville. And, we did the whole Airbnb thing. We found some folks that had a kind of an in-law suite in their house, man. I think we stayed there for like $75 a night, and we had, all of our independent access to the inside of the house that we needed and all that good stuff. But yeah, we just rented a car and we were all over that city. So that's definitely a place that we've been itching to go back to. Just, the list keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
First world problems, I suppose.
And it's worth mentioning. I mean, I was up there. I'm up in Nashville fairly often. As I said, my in-laws live pretty close to there, so I'm up in that area pretty often. But in the fall or like late summer, with COVID, hadn't really had a chance to get out and do a whole lot. But I got some camping reservations in Great Smoky Mountain National Park, which is less than an hour from downtown Asheville. Spent the weekend in the park, camping, hiking, doing that kind of stuff, and then got a hotel reservation in downtown Asheville, just blocks from the brewery block. And luckily, one of my brother-in-laws is actually an Asheville police officer, so that gives me a little bit of confidence that I can walk the streets there. But just spent I took Monday, Tuesday off from work. I just spent Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, just kind of stumbling around from brewery to brewery and just able to walk back to my hotel, which was just a couple blocks away from several of the breweries. So,
Nice.
Highwire, Wicked Weed, Burial, Green Man, Catawba. I always mess up how you pronounce their name, but Bamari, it's an Indian name. But lots and lots of great breweries there, all within very, very easy walking distance of each other.
Yeah, that's the key. If you can get a place where you can stay and then just walk from place to place, or if you don't feel like walking, just like a short Uber ride. But it seems like in Asheville, Uber is like overkill, right? I mean, you can definitely walk. That's a benefit because now you don't have to stop after a certain amount. You can just keep drinking from opening to closing and walk yourself back to the hotel, and you'll be fine without worrying about getting back home.
Yep.
Just got to remember where your hotel's at. So.
That's a good point.
But yeah, always come to Tampa too. I mean, we're what,
Chris, I promise you I'm going to be down there one of these days soon. I definitely want to hit Cigar City. I was going to try to hit Hanapu Day last year, and then COVID hit and they canceled it.
Yeah, well, it's canceled again next year too.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. So
they've already made that announcement. And for
have they now? Okay.
Oh yeah, and for those of you that care, it's now 1735 Alabama. But yeah, so I was actually just trying to hop on Cigar City's website probably about an hour or so ago, and they're getting ready to revamp all their merchandise and everything that they've got on there too. So they're definitely continuing to grow and rebuild and just kind of just be this. I still love a lot of the beers that they make, even though they've gotten bigger and become, they partnered up with the Canarchy and stuff like that. So it's always a good place I like. Plus I get a discount there, so it's not awful.
All right, Mike, what's your next one? Next stop?
So I picked Denver for my next one.
Okay.
Denny, you said you had not been to Denver, so
no.
My wife and I went to Denver for GABF 2018. I don't know if you guys. I don't think either of you guys and listening to this, I don't think either of you guys have ever been to GABF.
No,
nope.
John had gone, but not us.
Yeah, so it's not like you buy a pass and you're in for all the sessions. You actually pay per session, and they have I think 2 or 3 day sessions and 3 or 4 night sessions. So my wife is not anywhere near the beer drinker I am, but she went to 1 session, and then I got tickets for 2 sessions. So while we were in Denver, did a lot of hiking. When I had planned the trip, I've always wanted to see a concert at Red Rocks. The Red Rocks Amphitheater.
Nice.
And I had been to the amphitheater walking around because one of my company's offices used to be in Denver. So I had been there, walked around, checked it out during the day, but never seen a concert there. Well, as GABF was approaching that year, I saw that 9 Inch Nails, who I'm a sort of fan of, not a huge fan, but I like some of their stuff. I saw they were playing at Red Rocks the night before we were due to arrive. Well, okay, I'm going to switch that reservation up. And so we landed, immediately took an Uber to Red Rocks, saw 9 Inch Nails play at Red Rocks Amphitheater, which is amazing. If you ever get the chance to see a concert there, it is totally worth it. You're kind of, you're in this sandstone amphitheater that's been carved into the mountain, looking out over the city lights of Denver. It's just an amazing concert venue. But did that, and then I think I got the Friday I think it was the Thursday and the Saturday night sessions that I got for GABF. GABF was amazing. I mean, it's we had to stand in line. The line literally wrapped around the Colorado Convention Center twice to get in. So it crazy. But there were I'm going to make up the numbers here, but it was 2,500 breweries and 6,000 beers or something that were available there at the festival.
Wow.
It was just unbelievable how much beer was there. And we got a hotel room, much like Asheville. We got a hotel room that was just blocks away, so we could just stumble back to our hotel room, trying to be smart about things. Want to be
Yeah.
responsible.
Yeah.
Right.
But so we spent the evenings in there just drinking amazing, amazing beer. And at that time, knowing a lot of the brewers from Reno, there were 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 brewers from Reno that were actually competing in GABF. So got to hang out in their little stands, talk to guys that I knew, and taste some of their special stuff. Really, really amazing. And then during the days, like the city of Denver is just all about GABF. So during the days, there are constantly like tap takeovers and tastings and all kinds of stuff going on all around town. So I didn't want to drive anywhere because I'm drinking a lot, obviously. So, as a backpacker, walking 2 or 3 or 15 miles is not that big a deal to me. I didn't walk 15 miles, but from our hotel, I was walking to places that were 2 or 3 miles away and just sitting there for 2 or 3 hours at a tap takeover, tasting everything they had. There was a place called Yard House who had really, really amazing food, just a tap room, not a brewery. Really, really amazing food. Had like, I want to say like 128 taps or something, some crazy number of taps. This little place called Chiba Hut, which is a like a Subway type toasted sub shop, which I guess it's a small chain there, but one particular one in the downtown area has a really good tap room in the back, and they kept having these tap takeovers. So ended up there 2 or 3 times. Ended up meeting a buddy of mine from Reno there, just by chance.
By chance, nice.
Just bump into him. He was there for GABF, and so just enjoyed the whole beer culture. And then during the days while I wasn't hitting those events, just did a whole bunch of hiking around Red Rocks, and there's a place called what's it called? I just looked it up a minute ago. I think it's Dinosaur Ridge or something like that. Yeah, Dinosaur Ridge, which is out near Red Rocks. That's this kind of geological formation of uplifted rock and stuff with all kinds of dinosaur tracks and stuff in it. Really, really cool kind of stuff if you're into that kind of thing. So really, really cool stuff. After GABF ended on like the Sunday and Monday, we went down a little south to Boulder and hit like Manitou Springs and did some hikes down there and checked out some like cliff dwellings, that kind of stuff. So just got a bunch of hiking, kind of outdoor stuff in while we were there. Went up to Pikes Peak, drove up there, which was kind of cool because I have hiked to Mount Whitney before, which is the highest point in the lower 48, and actually got altitude sickness the first time I went up there. It's 14,505. Pikes Peak is like 14,200 or something. It's not quite as high as Whitney, but it's still over 14. We drove up to the top of Pikes Peak, and I was kind of shocked because I didn't get any sign of altitude sickness doing that. So, and it was the highest my wife had ever been. But sit up there, got like the famous donuts that they have up there. So just an overall really, really good time in Denver.
Yeah, nice. That the altitude sickness doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get it every time. So it just happens that the time you got it was a bad time, and that's what's always worried me with the high altitude hikes is you never know when it's going to hit you, and when it hits you, you're done, right? You don't want to do you can't do any more. And so I the highest peak here in Idaho is Bora Peak, and I've done that, and it's 12,600 and something, I think. And I was worried the whole time that because I was worried I was going to get, altitude sickness, but I was fine going up. But it doesn't mean the next time I do it, I won't.
It's different.
Have the same problem. Yeah.
The next I did Whitney a second time and summited and didn't get it the time.
Yeah.
So it's very different.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Yeah, Denver is one of the spots I want to visit. And I don't know if I really want to do the Great American Beer Fest, but I want to do what you did along with it, is go do all the other stuff outside of the Great American Beer Fest while it's going on. And I think that's what I would do, is just go there, get a spot, and then now that Uber and Lyft is so popular. Well, it was. I don't know if it will be popular. I mean, hopefully it'll still be around after COVID gets done. But I mean, you could easily take an Uber or Lyft from place to place without having to walk 15 miles. Now, 2 miles, I don't have a problem walking a couple miles. I walk a lot too. Sarah and I like to do a lot of walking. We try to walk as much as possible, but I think more than 2 miles, I might call it Uber, because that might be too much. But yeah, that's good. That's good. So you think that Great American Beer Fest is something you like to do again one day, or do you
Uh,
think once is enough?
As a matter of fact, I had a hotel reservation for this past year for 2020. They canceled it, made it a virtual event, so I didn't end up getting
Okay.
into it. I've gone ahead and made a hotel reservation for 2021.
Oh, wow.
So, assuming that it happens, I will be there this coming year. So,
It should happen this year because I think by that time things should be cleared up.
I
I'm
would think
staying
so.
positive. I'm staying
Yeah,
positive.
I would think so.
Well, good. I look forward to hearing how things go and
Yeah.
what new adventures that you have during the Great American Beer Fest this coming year. That's good. Okay, before we get to the next one, or if you guys want to talk, I got to go use the old man's room. I thought I was going to make it the whole 2 hours, but now we're at the hour and 45 minutes, and I don't think I'll make it to the whole show. So you guys can chat. I'll be back in just a minute.
I think I'm going to take that break too.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's make it a three.
So put up the we'll be right back, and then we'll be back.
I just got to find it.
Push. I kept pushing it. It kept staying muted. Yeah. No, two of us are back. I don't know where Chris went. He's like totally off camera. His
It
camera's
must have been
gone,
one of
right?
those. Well, was it Doug and something McKenzie from the Strange Brew movie? You remember how their bathroom break went? So it might be a while.
No, usually I'm the one that has to stop, and I've been good. Last couple times I've gone 2 hours without having to go, but at the end of the thing, I'm like, clenched up, like I gotta go, Chris. Okay, hang up, let me out of here.
Yep, I totally feel you.
Yeah, but that's okay. Hey, we still have 5 people watching. That's good. So I guess
Knoxville's not that far from me, so
yeah, I haven't. Yeah, I hear Knoxville has some good stuff. And I think Florida Steve mentioned Fresno. I did go to. Have you gone to Fresno and had some of the beers down there?
I've been to Fresno, but I didn't really hit any breweries while I was there.
Oh, yeah. So I went down there and visited a few breweries, a couple breweries. Uh, oh my gosh, now I can't think of the name. It's got a dragon, a House of Pendragon, House of
Okay.
Pendragon.
Oh,
Man,
interesting.
really good beers there. And I went to, um, now I can't think of the other one. The other one that that was it's a big one there that's grown pretty big. If I have a bottle somewhere in here.
All
Uh,
good.
oh, my memory is just, you know what? Once you get over 50, your memory just goes to hell. I can't
Once
think
you
of
get over
anything.
40, your memory goes to hell.
You guys aren't really making it sound too awesome.
It sucks. I had
If you can
no,
avoid getting old, Chris, do it.
yeah. All my health elements came
Right
after
here.
I was 50.
Ugh.
But it's they have the
Had it?
Sherman
Nope,
IPA.
gone.
No, I had it like Sherman IPA. Wait, Florida Steve will probably tell me on here on the thing, but I went there and I went to the brewery, and the beers were really good. And then I also went to House of Pendragon. I like those beers too. But yeah, Fresno has a pretty good scene.
I love the Arthurian reference. I never heard of that brewery before, but I love that.
Yeah, they make good beer. So if you do go back to Fresno, you have to go there. I really liked it.
I will check that out.
And how come I can't think? Oh, Tioga
Oh,
Sequoia. Have you heard
okay.
of them?
No, but I have driven over Tioga Pass a number of times going into Yosemite over the years. So
Yeah, so Tioga Sequoia, I think that's it. Tioga Sequoia. It's a hyphenated name of the brewery. They do some pretty good beers. I enjoyed that brewery. That was probably the biggest brewery in Fresno at the time. And again, this was back in that same time frame I was going to Russian River and
yeah,
Lagunitas and all those Sacramento breweries I visited. And Auburn Brewery. Auburn, is it Auburn Brewery?
Auburn, yeah,
Yeah,
outside of Sacramento, yeah.
yeah, I enjoyed that place. That was nice. They had some nice lagers and stuff there.
Yeah, well, that's where Knee Deep is at that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And like I said, Moonraker is literally around the corner, like 100 yards, if that,
Yeah.
from Knee Deep. So
Yeah, too bad. All right, you guys ready to start?
Let's do it.
Okay. So I'm going to go for my next one. So my next one on my list, which I think, Mike, that you probably are also going to have something to talk about, is Bend, Oregon. And everyone knows that Oregon is like Oregon, Washington, California. You know, those are like the West Coast like meccas for craft beer, right? Where the craft beer scenes like really blew up, especially Oregon and Washington. That's like the home, the birthplace of craft beer, I would say. But everyone leans towards Portland. Now, Portland, Oregon has great breweries, but there's so many breweries. I can't just talk about it. And there's so many different regions, and you can't just go and stay at one place and visit all the breweries because they're all over this big, giant, sprawled out town. Now, it's a great town, and maybe Mike will talk about his experience in Portland, but I'm not going to talk about Portland. I'm going to talk about Bend because Bend is more my style. Smaller, little quaint vacation tourist town that has beautiful scenery. Red, like you mentioned, Mike, that in Denver you had the Red Rock amphitheater. Well, you know what? That red rock or red sand is all over Bend, right? It's a red desert. Beautiful area. You can go out and do biking, camping, fishing. They got Mount Bachelor. You can go skiing. You can go.
Three Sisters is right there.
Yeah, Three
You've got,
Sisters. There's
Newberry,
mountain ranges
yeah.
everywhere, right? Beautiful scenery. You have desert, you have mountain scenery, snowmobiling, four-wheel driving, whatever you want to do. You have all kinds of stuff to do, but it's a small little town. And I don't know what the size of it is now, but back,
It's less than 100,000 people. Less than 100,000 people.
Yeah, 100,000 people. And there's, I don't know, 20 some breweries in this small town.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are really good. Now, I'm going to say that I think I mentioned all the reasons why you want to visit there, but I'm going to now mention the breweries. And these are the breweries that some of them I really enjoy, and then some of them I want to try, but I haven't because I just haven't had the chance. I don't want to pay the price is a little bit expensive to jump in, but I'm going to talk about my favorite now. Favorites are hard to name because a favorite at one point, might be different from favorite from another point in time in your craft beer journeys. If it was 10 years ago, I would say Deschutes Brewery, favorite brewery. Even at the time, it was, I was even before, I think I was even into Lagunitas. Lagunitas became my favorite brewery because I was really into IPAs, and they did some great IPAs and some great beers. But as far as, I've just, Black Butte Porter was one of the first craft beers I had back in the early 90s. And I still drink that beer today. That's how much I love it. They just produced some fantastic beer that is made in an English style that I appreciate. Most of the beers are from the Trent River type of water characteristic. So they have that certain flavor that I really enjoy. And so Deschutes is a place that a brewery you must visit. If you go to Bend, you got to visit Deschutes. I've done the brewery tour. They do a fantastic tour. You get tasters at the end. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free, which is nice. I don't know if it's still free, but it was free when we did it. And it's a good, it's a good experience. They do a good job. But then you go from the brewery to their pub. Now the pub is the original location of their original brewery. It's down in the downtown area, and they do experimental beers there. Now, if you want to get the real good beers, that's where you go because they have all this pilot batch stuff that never gets released past the brewery. And every time I go through Bend, we stop and eat at the Chutes, and I try their experimental pilot batch beers that are really fantastic. And so I recommend that everyone go, if you're going to go to Bend, go to the Chutes. But my favorite brewery right now, and this time and place, is Boneyard Beer. In fact, where is it? Here. I'm wearing a Boneyard Beer shirt because I love the brewery. And we're talking about Bend, so I thought I'd support him. And of course, I'm wearing a shirt that I don't know if you can see it, but this is a Cascadian. This is their Imperial Cascadian Dark Ale, and I love black IPAs. So I'm supporting the whole brewery and their awesome black IPA. But Boneyard Beer makes some fantastic beer. So anyone who goes to Bend has to go to Boneyard because Their original brewery was in like an old like auto shop thing, small. All you could do is buy samples for $1. They give you your first sample free, and then you about to buy $1 for each sample after that. How they got away with giving a free sample, I don't know, but hey, I'm not going to complain. But you couldn't buy pints there. All you could buy is these little sample beers, and you try them, and then you could buy growlers full of their beer and take it away. There was no on-site consumption. They just a year or two, maybe 2 years ago, they opened up a pub location where you can drink their beers and they serve food. And we visited there last time we went through Bend, and the food was good, nice variety. I really enjoyed their food. And the beer, now I can get full pints or full flights, like regular flights of their beers. Fantastic. Did you visit? You've been to Bend, right, Mike?
Yeah, I've been to Bend a couple of times.
Have you gone to Boneyard?
I have, both times actually. Funny story. The first time I was ever in Bend, I checked in on Facebook at the brewery, and a friend of mine from high school who I hadn't seen in 20 years at the time, she's like, "You're in Bend?" I'm like, "Yeah, just up here, checking out the breweries and stuff." She's like, "I live like 2 blocks." She's like, "I'm on my way." So got to hang out and see a friend that I hadn't seen in like 20 years
Wow.
at Boneyard. So that was kind of cool.
Nice. Well, good. So yeah, so you're a fan of Boneyard yourself then?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Boneyard and Deschutes as well. I mean,
Yeah.
last time we were up there, my wife and I went up there not too long before we moved to Atlanta. We went up there, and I ran a half marathon up at Sun River, which is just like a few minutes south of there. And we met up with some friends of my wife at Deschutes at the bar and grill, like downtown area, not the brewery.
Yeah.
But had like lunch there with her friends, and it was a really great time. And I keep telling you, Denny, you've got to get the Black Butte Cube, which you can really only get. I think this year is the first time they've ever released it, but prior to this year, you could only get it at the brewery.
Yeah.
Make sure you get that one. It's one of the best stouts I think you'll ever have.
So I've asked the guy, the beer tender at the co-op. I've asked him, hey, when this beer comes, I want it, but he says they haven't got any orders in it, but it was supposed to be released like months ago.
Yeah, 6 or 8 months ago they
released.
And
it hasn't come. He hasn't seen it yet, so I don't know if it's only like limited release to, maybe they're not coming out to the Boise area, but I do want that beer. For sure.
For those that don't know, Black Butte Cubed, basically they make a mash that is their malt bill to make Black Butte Porter. They make the mash, they distill it into a whiskey. They sell the whiskey, which goes like wildfire. You basically can't get it. The barrels that they age that whiskey in, they then take the next batch of Black Butte Porter and age in those same barrels. And they call that Black Butte Cubed. And it is just, it's not, no adjuncts or anything, but it's one of the most amazing barrel-aged beers you will ever have in your life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. It's on my list, and I've got the guy looking for it. As soon as it comes in, he's going to hold a couple bottles for me. But yeah, and it's nice that they're releasing this stuff in these small bottles too, which is also a benefit. So yeah, the next brewery I want to talk about that you got to go visit and drink their beer is Crux Fermentation Project. Did you make it to Crux, Mike?
Yeah, I've been to Crux both times I've been there.
Yeah, Crux makes incredible beer. I've got a hat right there. I got a hat. I've got a couple glasses. I've got a number of things from Crux because I love Crux beer. And they actually, I was drinking their Shakespeare Stout this Christmas season, and I was doing a Lego advent calendar that was gifted to me. So I opened that up on the first day of December, and I started building little Lego pieces each day. And then I took a picture of a couple of those pieces with the stout, and Crux saw it on my Instagram and said, "Hey, can we use this on our website to promote?" I said, "Of course. Just make sure you tagged Taps of Craft podcast on there," and they did, and it was fantastic because they love seeing the creativity and and I had the Crux glass, I had the Crux can, and then this little snowscape Lego thing that was it was nice. So yeah, Crux is great. Again, a brewery that can brew all kinds of styles of beer really good. Their IPAs are fantastic. Their stouts are fantastic. Everything in between is really well done.
Great Oud Bruin, which again is one of my favorites.
The Oud Bruin. Yeah. So again, that's a place you've got to visit if you go to Bend. These are all award-winning breweries. These are breweries that produce fantastic beer. So you got to do it. More award-winning breweries that you may not have heard of, but make some good beer. You mentioned Sun River Brewing, which actually has a spot in Bend. They make some great beer that nobody's drank, except for the guys at Great American Beer Fest that give it a gold medal for their Hefeweizen or whatever. But man, their beer is really good, and we are lucky enough to get it here in the Boise area. And I love drinking their beers. It's just everything is just really well done. Nothing special, just beer brewed well
With love.
with love. It tastes good, right? It's they're not adding a bunch of crap to it. It's just good beer that is brewed well. Sun River's good. Another one that I enjoy their beer that I don't think it gets any recognition at all is Silver Moon Brewing in Bend. Have you never heard of them?
No, I don't know them.
A smaller brewery, but again, they just make beers that taste good. But they don't get a lot of. They're overshadowed by so many other breweries in the area that maybe people haven't tried them. And I love Silver Moon, and we drink quite a bit of their stuff that comes into town also. And then the one brewery that I haven't yet visited, or we're starting to get their bottled stuff here in Boise, but because it's like $26 a bottle or $45 a bottle for some stuff, I just haven't had the gut to go and get it.
I think I know where you're going.
Yeah, and all their stuff is wild fermentation and mixed fermentation,
exactly.
and it's the Ale Apothecary. And the people that drink this beer swear that it's the best beer ever, but I just don't have the pocketbook that can really support that right now. So it's a spot that I do want to visit, and I'm hoping that one day I'll go to the brewery or tasting room. I don't know if they really have a brewery, but I think they have a tasting room.
Yeah, they have a tasting room. I've been to the tasting room twice. Both trips up to. I've only been to Bend twice,
Okay.
but both trips made it to Ale Apothecary.
Okay.
The first time I was there, which was I don't know, maybe 3 years ago, it wasn't really a tap room; it was a tasting room. So literally, they would pop a bottle and pour you from a bottle.
Yeah, that's
and
what I thought.
The second time, they actually had installed like 4 taps or something. It was still a very small number, but you could actually get a selection from the tap. But I mean, if you like sours, looking at you, Chris. If you like sours, they have some of the most amazing sours I've ever had, and some of them are like rip your face off sour.
Yeah,
just the the secondary and tertiary notes you can get off of them are just amazing. Had one the last time I was up there. I brought a bottle home called Purple Rain, which literally had Prince's Purple Rain logo, which was awesome.
nice.
Man, as a guitarist, and that beer was I brought that to a bottle share back in Reno, and just amazing beer. So many different like berry notes and stuff that you wouldn't expect out of a sour, but somehow they were pulling those notes out of it.
Yeah. It's pretty good, and they do. I think he also does a lot of stuff that is historic, brews, things that are using material ingredients that aren't normally used in brewing from historical brewing techniques. So it's a unique place that I just have to visit because I appreciate that kind of artisanship that goes into it. So
absolutely.
All right, Chris, let's get you back in the conversation. Do you have another spot, Beercation destination you'd like to visit?
Beercation. San Diego is definitely on the list.
Oh, come on. Yeah, there you go. Talk about San Diego.
No, actually, so let's see. What are some other places I'd like to go? I'd love to hit Colorado for the obviously the reason that you guys mentioned prior. But honestly, I would really, and I think I say this like every other show, I want to get out to Boise.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, but I've also started to develop quite the fondness for Montana and Nodak breweries, specifically Drecker over in North Dakota.
You've been getting quite a few Drecker beers, haven't you?
Yeah. Not only did I get Drecker beers, but I also got Drecker stuff for Christmas. Megan got me a hoodie and a tin sign and some stickers for Christmas this year. So Oh, and a Dickies work shirt too. So
From Drecker.
yeah, yeah.
All right, cool. I have a Deschutes Brewery Dickies work shirt that I
Mhm.
wear all the time. I love that shirt.
Yeah, yeah, those are comfortable shirts. Not only do I have those in as far as breweries go, but I also have them for work too. They have our logo on them.
Okay, so yeah, I think there are some breweries coming out of that area, North Dakota, Minnesota. We already someone mentioned Wisconsin. Wisconsin's definitely a spot that's got some great breweries that you want to try. I just don't know if they're like spread out or in a localized area. That's where it becomes difficult if you don't want to have to drive around the whole state.
Right.
But okay, so Mike, what about you? You got another destination?
Sure. So Denny, I know you named this one too, but I'm going to go to the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
So I've done, me and friends have done weekend Bay Area brewery tours many, many times over the years. And most of the time, not always, but most of the time, that's just about hitting the breweries.
Yeah.
So a lot of really amazing breweries in the Bay Area. Fieldwork,
Oh
they've got
yeah.
tap room in. They started in Berkeley, but they've got a tap room in Napa, Monterey, Sacramento, and I think they've got a fifth one now too, which I forget. But I've been to all but the fifth one, I think. You drop down a little south towards Santa Cruz. You got Santa Adarius, which does some amazing sours. Um, just a couple blocks from Fieldwork, you've got Rare Barrel, who does also amazing, amazing sours. And the last time I was there, I was talking to the bartender, and apparently they brought on a actual trained chef, and their food was just out of this world good. They had like this smoked roasted potato with pimento cheese, which sounds weird, but was just like orgasm in a bowl. It was just just amazing food. Drake's Dealership, Almanac Cellar Maker, which I'm actually wearing their sweatshirt here, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Almanac
so,
is awesome.
yeah, Almanac does good stuff. Humble Sea. There's a lot of really, really great breweries in the Bay Area. And it's the Bay Area, so there's tons of stuff to do. You can go to Muir Woods to hike. You can do all kinds of stuff in San Francisco proper. There's tons and tons of stuff to do in that area.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Just go out and see Alcatraz, which is a cool tour if you've never done that. So lots and lots of cool stuff over there.
Yeah, I agree. I had that on my brief mentions list. That's not in detail. And you mentioned a few that I didn't mention in my list. So I'm going to say I already mentioned Lagunitas. I know Lagunitas is now sold out to Heineken, so it's not as as big of a get. And I know that they've changed their, especially after they opened the Chicago brewery, things kind of shifted with the whole Lagunitas. I think once they opened the Chicago place, I started losing my my love for the brewery just because things were going different than it was before that shift. But I visited the brewery in Petaluma and had a great time. I actually have it's a funny story is I didn't realize that my license expired. Here in Idaho, they don't tell you when your license expired. They expect you to know when it expires and go get it renewed on your own. And 2 times since I've been here almost 20 years, I've been in Idaho, and twice my license expired. Once for over a year before I rented a U-Haul truck or trailer, and they told me that hey, your license expired. I'm like, no. I'm like, it's been expired for over a year. It's like, what the hell? And then for the second time was that trip to Lagunitas. I had driven from Boise all the way to Petaluma, and my birthday is in June 19th, and this was in July. So my license had been expired. I think it was like July 4th is that weekend there. So my license was expired for like 2 weeks before I go to Lagunitas, and I said, I want to do the tour. And they got to check your ID. You have to be over 21 to do the tour because they give you free tastings at the same time. So I go and show my ID, and it says, hey, your license expired. Do you have another ID? And I'm like, my license expired. What the hell? And I look at it and like, yeah, it's 2 weeks old. I was like, well, it's expired, but I mean, do I not look like I'm over 21? I mean, at the time I was like, 30, 40 something, right? I was old. And I'm like, do I not look like I'm over 21? Well, yeah, but I need to have a valid license to let you in because of the problems they had before with drugs and all of this stuff. They have a real strict. I said, well, I came all the way from Boise, Idaho to go on this damn tour, not knowing my license was expired. And I said, I have my concealed weapons permit. Will you take that? They took it. They looked at it, took it back to his manager with my license that was expired. I said, okay, we'll accept it. Even though Idaho concealed weapons permit is not a valid ID in California. But it got me in the tour and I got the tour. So that's a little story there that was interesting. I had no idea my license expired. So not only did I continue to drive the entire trip until I got back to Idaho to get my license renewed, I was safe. Luckily, I didn't get pulled over by a police officer. But yeah, so that's a little story. So then go up a little bit north from Petaluma, Santa Rosa. You have to visit Russian River. Now, Mike, tell me you've been to Russian River before.
Yes, I've been to
Okay.
both the downtown Santa Rosa location. So I stood in line for 3.5 hours for Pliny the Younger a couple years ago.
Okay, is it worth it?
It was worth it,
It was
actually.
worth it. Okay.
And then, funny story, I'll make this short, but funny story. Me and a couple of friends went over to a pizza place. It's called Old Town Pizza in Roseville near Sacramento. So we went across the mountain to their third anniversary. It's probably the best. It's not a brewery. It's a pizza place,
Yeah.
right? But probably the best single tap list in Northern California. Not exaggerating about that. Outside of a brewery itself. So we go over there to their third anniversary party. They've got some amazing beers on tap. We knew a storm was moving in, but we thought we could beat it home. Well, no, they closed Interstate 80 and we got stranded on the west side of the Sierras. Couldn't make it back because they closed the interstate. We couldn't get home. So we're like, there's like three of us. We're just going to get a hotel room in Sacramento and spend the night. And I'm like, guys, this is 2019, actually. This is 2 years ago, so a year and a half ago. I'm like, it is Pliny Week, and the new brewery is only like another hour and a half from here. So we went to the new brewery, and I, for the life of me, can't remember the name of the town at this moment. It's all the beer I've been drinking. But the new, larger facility that they built north of Santa Rosa, we went there, got there at like 9:30 at night or something, had no line, walked right in, and got to try Pliny the Younger and have food and stuff there. And then
Nice.
got a room there in that town and Windsor. That's it, Windsor, California.
Okay.
But yeah, it was great. It was absolutely great.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. So yeah, we went to the original spot, but I think our hotel was in Windsor. Uh, I think that's where we stayed because we knew we weren't going to be driving after
Yeah.
doing that, so we stayed pretty close by. But yeah, it's a great. You got to go to Russian River. Also in Fairfield, California, nothing else is in Fairfield except for Heretic Brewing. Have you gone to Heretic in Fairfield?
I have been to Heretic, yeah.
Yeah. I am a huge fan of Heretic. Maybe not as much now as I was prior to the big boom of craft beer taking on, where all of these breweries are now producing great beer. But before that time, Heretic was like constantly putting out great beer that just blew the socks off everyone else. And I had to go visit them in Fairfield, Industrial Park, and a strange spot that I wouldn't expected them to be at, but it was fun, and we got to drink a few unique things that weren't available in our area. We were lucky because Heretic, one of the first distribution spots outside of their state was in Boise, and they had a deal with one of the bottle shops here that allowed them to transport the beers over and sell it. So I feel very lucky that we were able to get their beers very early, and they make some great beers. So that's another spot I think is worth visiting just because they make good beer. And then of course in San Francisco you got to go visit Anchor Brewing because they're been around forever and they also make some very I think they make some great beer regular beer, right? The beer that tastes like beer. They don't do much different than just, regular
I think this
style. Just
team's a
tastes good.
classic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So those are my spots there. Okay. I guess we're kind of running a little long, so we should probably wrap this up. I'm going to go real quick with my last one here. Portland, Maine. I know Jim Kudzall mentioned it. I've mentioned it on the show a number of times. My main reason, two main reasons. One, visit Allagash. I've been wanting to visit Allagash for a long time. That's the main reason. But what's nice about that is I visit Allagash, I can visit like a number of other breweries right in that same area. So I can visit one brewery and then bounce to like 5 or 6 other breweries right there. So that's nice. Um, Also, a side note is that I was actually born in Brunswick, Maine. My dad was stationed at Orr's Island Naval Base there, in the late '60s, and and I was born in Brunswick. And then he got transferred, like right after I was born, to Chicago, where my sister was born, and then we got transferred to Long Beach, where he got out after time in Long Beach, California. So I've never been back to Maine. So I started my craft beer journey in Washington State, at the furthest north, besides Alaska, in the continental United States, the furthest northwest spot. You know what? I need to go all the way to the furthest northeast spot and try some craft beer out there and go visit the spot where I was born. I got to see where I was born. I'm a maniac by birth, but never lived there more than a few months. So, Allagash, Bissell Brothers, and Mass Landing are the ones I've heard that are worth visiting. I know that Jim Kutzel, had some other ones that are also worth visiting, and I hope that I can visit Maine and Allagash with Jim and Tara one day as a team. Be good to go do that. Have you been up to Maine, Mike?
No, I actually back in October I had planned a trip up into Maine and New England to do some backpacking in Acadia National Park up in Maine. Was intending to hit Trillium Treehouse, meet a buddy of mine in Boston, hit
Yeah.
those guys going up into New Hampshire, and hit Alchemist and Hill Farmstead. And because of the pandemic, those states had pretty strict quarantine requirements in place for out-of-staters.
Yeah.
And so I had to cancel that. And that's when I ended up kind of diverting and going out to Brewdog in Columbus, Ohio, and then visiting John in Trek. So, yeah, didn't exactly make it to Maine, but hopefully someday soon.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. Because, there's a lot of, I mean, Maine is up north, but there's like a lot of lakes, a lot of water things, seafood. Supposedly it's a beautiful place. It also gets a lot of snow in winter. So I don't think I want to live there because I don't want to, I don't like dealing with the snow I have here, let alone in Maine. But I want to visit it. And then we have another listener, Jay Morris. He's from Maine, Maniac. I can't remember his whole Twitter name, but I hope to meet up with him also, and he can take me to some of these. I think he lives near Portland, Maine, so he can join us and give us a local's perspective of the craft beer scene too. So that'd be good. All right, so Mike, anything else you want to talk about Beer Destination? I'm sorry we kind of ran a little late. Did you have a
Oh,
bunch on
okay.
your list, or did you finish your list mostly?
No, I had a list. The one I have to call out just because
Okay.
I would be remiss if I didn't. It's not really a beer vacation for me because I lived there for like 17 years or something. But Reno is an amazing little beer town. I mean, Denny talks about Revision all the time, and Revision is definitely a place worth checking out. But Reno has got Imbibe and Great Base and some other really, really great breweries there locally. In addition to, there's all kinds of great culture there. I mean, you've
Mhm.
got Lake Tahoe, that's just like 20 miles away, all the ski resorts,
Yeah.
which are within an hour. You've got Yosemite a couple hours away. You've got the casinos. So a lot of really, really great stuff. There are a lot of great tap rooms. A lot of friends of mine that own tap rooms there, Beer and V and the 395 and Picnic. A lot of really, really good places there. So I'd be remiss if I didn't call out Reno as a beer destination.
Well, there you go. There, I didn't realize you lived there for 17 years. That's a long time.
Yeah, I lived there quite a while.
Yeah. So you planning on living in Georgia for the next 17 years?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I'll tell you, I like Reno a lot better than Atlanta, but I don't dislike Atlanta. It's just the traffic here, and it's hard to really judge. I mean, we've been stuck in our houses for what 9 or 10 months now, so it's kind of hard to know. I haven't been able to kind of build the relationships here that I had in Reno, just because I've been stuck in my house to a great extent.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I'm going to mention just real quick. I've already talked about Ireland. Everyone needs to go and do a trip to Ireland, see Guinness, visit some of the fantastic craft breweries all around that country that I got to witness. Some of the great beers that they're putting out. I had no idea that Ireland was making some fantastic craft beer, and even Guinness was fun to visit and tour. I had a blast. So go to Ireland. Spots that I haven't been to that I want to go to that I'm not going to talk in detail because I haven't planned the trips, but Germany, Belgium, and Prague. Those are 3 places that I will visit before I die, and drink their beers. Most likely I'm going to go eat with either someone that's already has experience touring that place, or I'm going to take the easy route and just take a beer tour where someone just drags me along on a brews cruise and takes me to all the great spots, so I don't have to worry about planning on that. So those are my beer destinations that I want to do. Mike, do you have any destinations that you have on the distance that you want to do?
So, like I said, New England, I definitely want to hit those breweries I mentioned and hit Maine and up in that area. And I have on my to-do list to actually hit Oktoberfest,
in
the
Germany,
real Oktoberfest, in the next 3 or 4 years. So,
okay,
see how things play out, but that's hopefully on the agenda.
Well, now that you're in Georgia, it's a lot easier to get over there from Georgia than it is from Reno.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
All right, Chris, how about you? Besides Boise,
Boise,
yes, where do you plan on visiting?
I definitely would love to check out Oktoberfest. I would definitely let. I'm just gonna tag along in your suitcase.
Our next trip overseas is probably going to be to Iceland. You want to join us to Iceland?
We go there too.
Okay.
I hear Reykjavik's nice this time of year.
Yeah.
I'm planning a trip to Peru in April, but we'll see if that works or not. But so I don't know what the beer is like down there. We'll see.
I don't think the beer is very good, but again, if you like hiking, you got a lot of hiking to do in Peru.
Yeah, I'm going to be backpacking the Inca Trail up to Machu Picchu. So.
Yeah, Machu Picchu. Yeah. Well, Chris had Machu Picchu.
You know what? I deleted them.
Oh,
I did. I deleted them because I had to put some cool Mandalorian stuff in here so I could.
All good.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, do you want to do our new and noteworthy, or you want to just end this thing?
I think we'll go ahead and skip the new and noteworthy.
Okay. Wait, Mike, do you have any new and noteworthy you had to talk about?
Only because you commented on Tap Denny, I will call out the Goose Island Bourbon County Stout, Kentucky Fog. Thanksgiving, we spent at my in-laws up near Asheville, and I had to drive about an hour Black Friday morning down to Greenville, South Carolina, where they actually get the stuff, but was able to get the base and 3 of the variants, did not get the birthday or the anniversary stout. But I did get the Kentucky Fog as one of the 3 variants I got. So that's the one with honey and Earl Grey and I think black tea. And it was just out of this world good. I mean, I drink I don't drink coffee very much. Coffee messes with my stomach, so I don't really drink coffee in the mornings. But I do drink Earl Grey tea pretty often. And that particular beer, the Earl Grey was very, very present. Got some honey in the background. It was just absolutely outstanding. And Denny, I know you mentioned that you want to try that one. So.
I do. I love tea in beer. I don't know why it just resonates with me, but I love the flavor. And I've heard, you're not the only one I've heard good things about it. Now, I've heard people that when they first try the variants, they say, oh yeah, the Fog is the best. And I don't want to burst your bubble, but then they say they have the birthday, and the birthday like overtakes the Fog. So if you can find the birthday, you should find the birthday, because I hear it's really good.
All right.
I'll let you know.
Oh, you have it, Chris? Oh,
yeah. So we were able to get a little bit of everything.
Okay.
At our surprisingly enough, at our Total Wine and More.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Well,
That's
Chris,
where I got mine too, in Greenville. Was it Total Wine and More? So
All right.
they don't have everything there. So.
Well, we look forward to hearing about that in your next new and noteworthy there, Chris.
Yeah.
Guess I'll have to drink it. Got to do it for the show.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, let's close this thing out because I think we lost all of our. Well, we still have 4 viewers. Wait, 2 of them are you and me, right, Chris?
Probably.
We still have 2 viewers, but let's go ahead and just give a chance to raise a glass to toast because I still have my 4th beer. I have like 1 sip left here. But Mike, after you get done chugging that thing, do you have anyone you'd like to raise a glass to tonight?
With all the craziness in the world, I don't want to get political here. That's dangerous territory, but I do want to raise a glass to those serving in DC during what happened this past week, and just appreciate those actually doing their job and protecting our freedom. So I will raise a glass to those gentlemen and those
I'll cheers to that.
men and women.
Yeah, my good buddy Eric Glover is a Pentagon police officer. That's there. I haven't heard yet how he made out. Hopefully he was away from all that. But they do bring his crew in when needed for extra support. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. And yeah, cheers to those guys. And I'm glad. I mean, I'm sad that we did have some loss of life and some issues. I guess I'm grateful wasn't worse than it could have been, but it shouldn't have happened to begin with. But again, we're not going to get into that whole mess. But yeah, I'll raise a glass to my buddy Eric for sure. Chris, how about you? Who'd like to give a cheers out tonight?
So, Mike, I would love to raise a glass to you, sir. Not only for getting on here and chatting about beer and stuff with us, but also being a virtual producer with us, man. We definitely appreciate that.
Yes.
And always will raise a glass to that for the support. We definitely appreciate that. So, cheers to you.
That's for a good cause.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And Denny, who would you like to raise a glass to?
All right. Well, I'll raise a glass to our Patreon, John Carroll. He's a new Patreon that just started up this month. Cheers to you, John. Thank you for your support. And I also want to raise a glass to one of my Israeli colleagues who is here in Boise working with me on some issues. Well, not issues, working on a project. Gal Guterman. Cheers to you, Gal. If you're listening, he learned about my podcast, and I'm not sure if he's actually. He said he likes to listen to podcasts when he's driving, and maybe when he's driving back and forth from work to while he's here, so maybe he's listening to our podcast as he's driving. But it's a short drive, so he can't get it takes him like a week to get through one podcast, I think, because it's not that far away. But cheers to you, Gal. Thank you for joining me and helping on this project, and of course for some more fun beer adventures that we're going to have here in Boise in the next few weeks. All right. And then, of course, being a former serviceman, I want to raise my glass. I want to thank all those who have served and are currently serving in the U.S. military services, protecting our freedoms. I hope that you guys can return home safely to your families very soon. And cheers to your service. And Chris, why don't you go ahead and give a toast to our sponsor?
So I want to raise a glass to the folks over at Brewer Shirts. Brewer Shirts was one of the first to create apparel that celebrates the art of brewing and the love of fine beer. Never too trendy, always comfortable, and offering affordable quality. They screen print their gear by hand in their studio using eco-friendly inks, materials, and processes. Visit their online store at brewershirts.com and use the coupon code TAPTHECRAFT2020 to receive 15% off full-priced items.
And you can find the beers and I guess just the beers mentioned on the show in the show notes on the show post at tapthecraft.com. And maybe 4 beers was too much for tonight. I don't know.
Oh, and I'm the responsible one here this evening.
And if you'd like to follow us on social media, I can be found on Twitter, Instagram, and Untappd at Loose Screw. Chris, how can our listeners follow you?
You can find me on Twitter at Chris_McKenzie82 or Untappd, and Instagram at MCK1345, and all things social media at Tap the Craft.
That's right. Mike, do you have any social media presence?
You can find me at Facebook at Mike Allen. Yeah, I'm really not on Twitter on Untapped at M the Spike.
M the
And yeah,
Spike. I like it.
it's an old nickname from years ago. It used to be Mike the Spike. I had to shorten it at one point. It became M the Spike.
Hey, that works. That works. All right. Well, that's great. All right. It's last call. It's time to bring the show to a close. We want to thank you for downloading and listening to the show. We ask you to please tell a friend and subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn, Google Play, Castbox, Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and now on Amazon Podcasts, or however you listen to your podcast. As a reminder, we release a new show every 2 weeks. Now go out there and spread the good word of craft beer.
Cheers.
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 All right, we did it.
Yeah. So, Mike,
Cool.
did
This was fun.
did you receive your email from the folks over at Brewer Shirts?
I did not. I didn't want to mention that on the air, but I did mention it. I have not heard from them, so I was checking my junk box and everything. I didn't hear anything from them, so no biggie.
Damn it.
Well, that's okay. We'll reach out to them, see about what's going on with that.
Sorry we ran long there, guys, but that was actually a lot of
No.
fun. I appreciate you
Oh,
guys
no.
having me on.
Wait, I figured we run long because I'm full of hot air. I can just talk about anything. And we had I figured with the brewery that talk we'd talk long, but then I didn't realize we were going to talk as long as we did before that. But hey, it's all good conversation. So
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. It was a lot of fun.
no, we appreciate your support, and hey, we wanted you on even before you became a virtual producer. So
I remember you
good.
talking about that. So yeah, it just happened this way, but all good.
Yeah,
All good.
yeah. No, it's all good. It's all good. We invite all of our listeners to come on and join the show, but we especially want people that, as a perk to come on and provide a topic of interest. And this is definitely an interesting topic that I think people will find some value in some other locations they may not have or may have known, but may not have known as detailed to why to go to these places.
Yeah. For the record, I didn't want to get into it because we were already running long, I realized, but Maui, my wife and I Cass and I went to Maui last, so I say last, but it was 2019. So January of 2019, we spent a week and a half on Maui. And there's only 2 breweries on that island, but Maui Brewing being one of them.
Oh yeah.
We went to Maui Brewing on Kihei, in Kihei, the city on Maui, and really, really freaking amazing. Yeah. Awesome food. We sat on like the patio, and you're just overlooking the island out of the ocean. Just absolutely outstanding. And then we went to the second brewery, which is Kohala or something like that. Hang on, I put it in my notes. What was that one called? Yeah, Kohala Brewery, which is kind of on the eastern side of that near Lahaina. Decent beer, but it wasn't really anything to speak of as far as the brewery goes. It was just kind of your standard, industrial park. We rented a couple garages and built a brewery in here type place.
Yeah, I've heard. I have a friend, my friend Corey, who's also a distant cousin, which is amazing. We work together. We're friends and we're cousins.
Okay.
He goes to Hawaii every year. He's been to all the islands. He's a scuba diver, so he and his family go out scuba diving, and he's gone to all the islands multiple times and scuba dive. But he loves going to Maui Brewing. Yeah. So it's nice.
Good time.
He also likes Kona Brewing in like the real Kona Brewing, not the stuff we get here. He says,
"Yeah, I definitely want to get there." Just that was our first trip, my first trip, and my wife's first trip to Hawaii. So, it's island hopping is a little expensive, so we didn't do that. We pretty much spent our time on Maui. Yeah. But I'll get back out to the Big Island one of these days.
Yeah, it'd be good.
And Chris, I'm definitely going to get into Tampa one of these days in the not too distant future. So
I'll be here.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta go pee again.
Thanks for the info.
I have my bladder, once it fills, it then does this. So.
It's for all of us. I understand. I'm going to go use it too. So, guys, thank you very much. This was a great experience. I really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, and, thank you, Mike.
I'll catch you next time, I guess.
All right. Well, you're always welcome to come back again.
All right. Thanks.
Cheers,
Have a
guys.
good night.
Later.
Bye bye.